Our Sam is here, so Marin starts out a classic misfit haunted by nerves and crippling social unease. Yet as events progress, he hardens into the most unfeeling, composed figure around. In this world of one talent per soul, his wild hunger shatters the norm, stealing and combining endless skills by defeating monsters. And he has a superior, Kang, a formidable, strong woman whose impressive figure is hard to ignore. It might seem Maru's fate is simple, but truly, everything is set against him from the start. Within a single year, monsters will descend and the world will fall into chaos, leaving him to face it. But before catastrophe erupts, let's roll the story back and start earlier. Our tale opens in a sequestered domain, amid a camp's refuge. In the heart of the woods lies a young man on the earth, blood staining his shirt. Before him, several people lie motionless in a scene full of loss and despair. He whispers that the yellow dust hides something. A shape nears, brandishing a blood-colored sword adorned with bells. He pleads for aid, but at that instant, something leaps from the brush, clutching at his leg. He's pulled into smoky shadows, leaving behind nothing but a twisted trail. Later, his lifeless form is discovered, the tragedy clear to all who see. A nearby group murmurs that he shouldn't have strayed alone into these cursed woods. One grumbles about documenting another loss, while the black-haired one says duty waits, pointed to the looming footprints. That's precisely when the prettiest among them catches the splashing of water. She turns, and they move together. With a hand dipped into her pocket, she withdraws a blade to carve her own flesh. The knife stains itself as her blood winds around it and snakes up the length of her arm. The bespectacled one gestures to the dust and calmly warns, "It's nearly here." She steps forth, vowing to take care of it, as her knife reshapes itself into a mighty sword clinging to her back. She belongs to the Yellow Dust team, and now the stage moves elsewhere. Meanwhile, in a city office building, there is an interview underway for a public position in Sue. Candidates wait nervously in the hall, numbers echo, and someone in the bathroom speaks of dreading death. He longs to flee, not join the interview, heart thundering as panic swells within him. He insists this can't be true, washing his face and telling himself again he can manage it. He believes he just needs to take a couple more pills to get through this moment. Though the quantity is high, at least they work. Suddenly he notices a little bird on a branch. The bird gazes at him curiously and he returns the look, attentive to its tiny presence. After a brief pause, the bird opens a big eye as if asking what he's staring at, hinting at his troubles. But instead of reacting much, he just remarks aloud that panic attacks are truly overwhelming. As he walks toward the interview, he sees a news report about 4 missing campers in his province. He continues forward, strengthening his resolve to succeed. His name is Marouan, he's 29, perfectly average. Just a typical student from an ordinary school, he finished university and now struggles to secure a job. He thinks nervously that if that's his mother, he'd be intimidated. He wonders whether her huge heart or her strong jaw is greater. After 5 years trying for public service, he finally reached the interview when a woman enters and calls him. He jumps up, announcing he's present and reassuring himself firmly that he'll succeed now. He walks rather rigidly and repeats it simple, until he stands before the boss being scrutinized. He swallows anxiously as the interviewer asks why he aspires to civil service work. He awkwardly exclaims, raising his voice, that his desire is to help society and give back. Yes, that sums it up. Yet he truly hopes for stability, a dependable paycheck, safety, and a calm life with few surprises. When questioned about a superior's mistake, Maru answers he'd honestly point it out and seek a solution, staying adaptable and positive. He realizes admitting inaction would end his chances, so he answers to match what they want. He pretends he'd intervene, then is asked about working with people and replies he's quite bad at it, smiling bravely. He admits struggling with communication, stress, and memories of being bullied for panic attacks. Mentally, he wishes he'd said he's sociable and keeps good friends. The interviewer looks baffled and Marouan realizes he said aloud the truth he should have kept in his mind and thought the words meant to be spoken. What a silly mistake. He clears his throat to continue, and the next question gleams through his glasses as the interviewer asks how Maru faced his hardest day. Looking lost, Mario admits life's been smooth for him, but the interviewer urges him to recall any hardship at all. Maru, uneasy, admits his mind is blank except for the memory of mountains with his father. He suddenly recalls himself near a yellow mist, heart racing, as a black beast with golden eyes stared at him. His breath quickens. The beast before him grew many eyes atop its head. Near bloody corpses, he was still a child. Paralyzed in the interview chair, his vision dims as the seat tips and he tumbles to the floor. Dazed, he gazes at the whirling ceiling as the interviewer calls to Mr. Han, shaking his shoulders to check on him. In panic, the boy struggles to keep himself from vomiting. He's too late. Unfortunately, the interviewer ends up thoroughly splashed. At home again, he sprawls on his bed, murmuring it was a disaster, sure the interview is ruined for good. How can he hope for normal life with no job, girlfriend, or friends left? Suddenly, there's a knock at the door and he can't guess who. Everything remains chaotic. Shuffling to the door, he asks what's up. Standing there is a towering figure, possibly not even a woman. The large person asks him why he didn't answer sooner. He calls her mom but hesitates at her massive form, almost 3 meters tall, yet a mother remains a mother. She announces she brought food and was about to go while he thanks her and asks about meat. She mentions she only brought kimchi and beans, no meat today. Still he thanks her, hiding behind a chiseled jawline even bodybuilders might envy. Looking around, she notices that his diet is only instant noodles and soda among tossed napkins. He sits hunched but content, ready to enjoy his simple meal. Observing the clutter, she begins organizing the place, again questioning his living standards. He promises to tidy up later, but she's more curious about the job interview. This inquiry finishes him, he sinks to the floor, resigned and overwhelmed. He mutters to himself, unwilling to confess he threw up during the meeting. His mother, arms crossed, taps his back, assuring if he can't pass now, there's no need to stress further. He mourns his fate while she relentlessly keeps cleaning around. Before leaving, she hands him some pocket money as a small token of care. Her generosity touches him, yet he declines, insisting he's grown and must earn his living. Yet she extends her powerful arm with intent, and immediately he surrenders and agrees. As she scratches her broad chin, she says if he failed the interview, the shaman's words must be true and tells him she must visit the mountain. A flicker of dread crosses his face briefly, but after a moment they're already at the mountain. Though the sun scalds the sky, the man is covered in a sweater and slacks. This marks a true taco moment. Lost in thought, he realizes he hadn't expected to return here or to a mountain that holds all his memories. He recalls his mother met a wise shaman to uncover why jobs kept eluding him. According to the shaman, it was neither panic nor ADHD stopping him, but a barrier from his vanished father's spirit, lingering 20 years since his death, needing to be purified. He wouldn't progress in life until the ritual was done and could only work as a servant after. He must bring an offering to the mountain to bring peace to his father's soul, yet the lengthy journey leaves him lost in time as to when reach the end. Eventually he faces a worn gate, murmurs that this is the place, opens it, then hesitates with a glance aside. He glimpses what could be a transparent double, perhaps a memory or a spirit. Quickly the child darts to the entryway and carefully pushes the door open. Inside there stands a man, silent, with his back toward the door. Maru swings the door wide, standing motionless and fixated on the silhouette. Steps closer, Maru tugs at his father's pants, softly saying he is hungry. His father suddenly bears a strained look and erupts in an anguished cry. Fright spills across the boy, and instantly the vision fades away. A sharp sting pierces his chest, another wave of panic breaks nearby. Inhaling deeply, he finally exhales, finding a hint of calm. Reaching for his bag, he pours sacred liquor into a cup ringed around the home while telling his father, "Wherever you are, I hope joy finds you." Maru explains to his father he visits at his mother's behest, praying his searching soul rests, offering supplications to the spirits of the mountain. Reminiscing, he shares that his mother worked night and day after his father's passing to help him flourish and succeed. While preparing prayers and sacrifice, deep yellow dust edges forward around them. Maru wonders whether all this drifting haze is smoke from a mountain blaze. He begins to run, prioritizing his safety, when an uncanny voice repeats the word safety. First, he can't tell if it's merely an echo and so glances back in uncertainty. A silhouette appears within the yellow mist. "Ma'am, you've watched this before, so why wait?" A swollen, distorted monster with a burst head appears chanting safety first, and Maru thinks it's just another trick of his tired mind. He wipes his eyes, thinking the vision will blur and vanish. Whatever it is, it slowly continues coming toward him. He recognizes the danger is real and knows he has to run without delay. But an unexpected sharp pain stabs straight through his stomach. On his knees, he asks if this is his end, working hard all his life and never finding joy. Yet he reasons maybe if he dies, bills and life's burdens will finally disappear. He laughs darkly, muttering there's no one who would really care anyway. But he then remembers his powerful mother, always devoted and hardworking, supporting him just to see her child push forward. The courage of his mighty mother inspires him to rise, even impaled, since he refuses to give up now. Suddenly the beast, acting oddly, picks up his scent, repeating safety, and closes in. Then, moving to take a bite, the monster reveals a glaring eye within its jaws. The creature clamps onto Mu's waist, and Mu uses all his strength to stave off its bite. Yet the enormous mouth manages to clamp down, sinking its fangs right into his shoulder. Overwhelmed by pain, he screams, fearing if this continues he'll faint from agony. He suddenly recalls his father telling him to eat. If monsters can, so can he. He plunges his teeth into the monster's neck, ripping out flesh. This young man is truly ferocious. The beast did not expect the tide to shift, writhes in agony, a dark energy leaking from the eye glaring from its maw. Suddenly visions overwhelm Mara's mind. Masses dragged by such monsters and their own brutal battles. Amid the chaos, as Maru tries to decipher the calls his name again, and he visions and his own fate. His mouth brims with metal's tang, ponder if this is shift death's flavor, as a voice commanded him to calls his consumed name again, and he wonders who it is. This time, opening his eyes slowly, he sees a guide gone and is questioned, bloodied about his presence in a forbidden zone. Confusion strikes Maru, who hastily jumps to his feet in utter surprise. He quickly scans his surroundings, searching for the vanished beast that arose from the yellow haze. The man in the Hawaiian shirt inquires about Maru's experience, and Maru recounts an encounter with Golden Mist. He tells how a monster attacked, and now he finds finds himself awake and bewildered. He truly believed it was his end, as his stomach was terribly wounded. His discoverers share knowing looks and the Hawaiian-shirted man remarks he believed the demon alarm was false, but clearly not. Now it appears this boy defeated it, though the woman firmly says that's unthinkable. The demon's blood can grant power, sure, but talents aren't instantly accessible. The man looks at Maru, saying his name, then asks if he remembers what happened the prior day. Maru, in tattered clothes like a reluctant model, wonders what the man means by yesterday. He checks his phone and springs up, stunned by the realization that he's lost a whole day. Someone remarks if he lasted this long, then certain powers must now reside with him. Still, the girl advises against conclusions, as Maru needs time to grasp his newfound reality. The man tries to put her at ease and, placing his hands on Maru's shoulders, says Maru's timing is ideal. Mandatory participation awaits, though Maru's clueless. The man suggests he change out of his ruined garments. Soon after, they return to the port, where a special service orientation for new staff is underway. Maru, adrift in his worn shirt, sits unsure of what to make of his position. He wonders how fate dropped him into civil servant orientation so unexpectedly. The space feels far from friendly, lending little warmth to its uneasy newcomers. Each person around him seems strange, their faces marked with discomforting gazes. Then, a woman enters in striking red clogs, adjusts her pants. It's another extraordinary individual. Does everyone here do martial arts? Maru muses as she introduces herself as Director Yu Young, welcoming them. Maru hesitantly says he shouldn't be here, but she reassures him his info just arrived. He's officially accepted. Congratulations, he's the latest addition to our team. The bewildered fellow listens as she claims that everyone here should know these special staff members. Their main duty is to save lives, and they're forbidden to tell loved ones about this job. Leaks will be met with punishment for violating security laws, making Maru realize its gravity. Yuan goes on to say everyone here should have gained a new demon power this month. Small chance of immediate power emerges when demon blood mixes with your own. Maru recalls that this likely occurred when he bit that monster's throat. She adds that for now, those fortunate demons dwell only in the nearby mountains. The yellow haze marks the first sign a demon is close at hand. Its intensity is measured from 1 up to 10. Naturally, more dust means a fiercer creature, she concludes, then summons Shanu to raise his hand. She notes his ability comes from a level 7 beast, and eagerly awaits to see his talent unfold. With confidence, the attractive one vows to perform well, easing her concerns. Then Yang turns to Maru. She observes his power comes from a level 1 demon and inquires further. He is still confused by everything. He confesses he hasn't yet found his power, and a smug neighbor immediately snickers nearby. That guy almost deserves a nip on the neck, though it might make things even stranger. Better to drop it, though Marva feels irked. His goal now is simply to leave as soon as he can. Out of nowhere, a blaring alarm rings through the chamber. Yu Young declares that's excellent timing. It signals a demon's presence. Just then, as they scale the mountain, she proclaims test time has begun. It's their chance to try out these fresh, untested powers in action. Naturally, it is Maru lamenting his reasons for being in such a place. Truly, he just wants to escape before things get truly hazardous. Yet he is once again forced to face the infamous yellow haze, just as safety crosses his mind. His face reveals everything he's feeling. He's terrified, nearly paralyzed with fear. Gazing through the thick fog, he notices the shadow of a woman taking shape. It's the girl with mummy-wrapped arms, and he can't help but hope she's unharmed. He spins around just then, startling Maru deeply. She had driven her staff through a creature that towered 3 meters tall. Maru, overwhelmed, stumbles to the ground as awe fills the eyes of those around. Yan commands everyone's focus, announcing the start of the hands-on exam. The monster, powerful in appearance, is just a weak rank 1 demon, the lowest level. Captain Kang had it pinned against the wall, so there was truly nothing to fear now. Rather than the demon, Kang's interest lay in the stunned boy who slew a demon solo before. She wondered what promise a youth might show having awakened his gifts once facing a monster, since that was incredibly rare. Meanwhile, Ui, brimming with excitement, ordered use of powers, yet Maru stood shivering in front of the beast, silently judging the leader's sanity. How could he be expected to face such a beast? Panic overcame him and his breath grew shallow. Suddenly he stood atop a crimson river as a creature with obsidian limbs drew near. It was a bizarre woman-dog mix, shrouded in rough fur, repulsive in every way. Lost in silent misery, reacted as the monster softly hovered a hand above his, command him to head. Gripped his head, ponder if this is shift, as a voice commanded him to calls his consume. So apparently he's got a Naruto Kyuubi-like being inhabiting his mind. Strangely, while panic gripped the group, he fixated hungrily, mouth-watering, lost in a craving. Even the drool was astonishing, its detail vivid. Someone roused him by touching his shoulder. Jan Wu appeared, wondering if laughter was Maru's way to hide his terror. Maru, ever blunt, replied, "No, just staring man. I already want to hit this guy for insulting Maru because he's hungry in moments like this. Now certain he's Tokyo Ghoul, maybe hunger suits him." Regardless, Maru kept calm, puzzled about his own ravenous craving. High atop the mountain, Yu Young called everyone's gaze to her. Before anyone could wield their gifts, she had to explain the foundational truths. She revealed that demons caused the yellow mist, and the mightier the demon, the denser the mist they birthed. Drawing a knife, she added more, casually slicing her hand as proof of her next message. She told them that receiving demon power also gave superior healing. Yet if struck fatally within the mist, even this would not save them, so caution was demanded. Their powers, she reminded, could only emerge when they were within that yellow mist. Faced with foes outside the mist, they were mere mortals once more. Sunu, the most self-effacing in Korea, yawned and questioned her about the lecture's length. He pressed that explaining power activation was vital, offered to try, and bit his lip. Blood was drawn, and slowly the yellow mist crept in his direction. Something inside him appeared to stir to life. He sensed a surge of energy rise within his body. Gold shimmered in his gaze. The trick was letting the mist meld with his veins. Donning a glove, he proclaimed, "The time to start is now." Just then, the stuck stake dislodged and shattered the monster's head. Kang cried out a warning as the yellow mist thickened, enclosing the group. Freed at last, the monster stirred, bellowed, and pounded the ground in defiance. The new recruits, so recently joined, were already gripped by trembling dread. Kang made to act, but Yu Young commanded her to remain where she was. Kang protested this strain was too great for fresh fighters, but Yu Young countered, seeing a prime chance to learn. If a level 1 beast proved too much for them, survival was out of reach regardless. The monster sniffed, its focus suddenly fixed on Maru, whose nerves froze him in place. He instantly feared the creature's full attention, wondering at the cause. Without warning, its hand spread wide, launching a blade straight for Maru's heart. That beast was lightning quick. Maru caught a blow to the arm and hit the ground in pain. He felt a pang of sympathy as he saw Maru writhing in torment. He struggled up with an aching arm, but the monster was already looming to finish him off. The beast landed close, inching nearer, and their gazes clashed as it extended a claw. Once, something erupted from beneath the earth. Huge centipede encircled and captured the monstrous adversary. It squeezed the beast mercilessly, trapping it in a cold stare. This was S's gift, the demon centipede. For a man obsessed with looks, his power was frightful. Then, at that instant, a girl attacked from behind and slashed the monster's head. Her strength stemmed from the Rojo demon's lineage. Whatever that meant, it was clear the creature had lost its mind and was howling, spreading mist wider. Smirking, the girl claimed their victory, but the swirling yellow mist revived the monster's head. Only now did he grasp how formidable the beast's regeneration truly was. The monster wrenched the centipede from Sue's neck, pulling it from his attached arm. With it, the beast lashed Shanu straight at the girl. Afterward, it yanked Shanu back and squeezed him mercilessly. Fully vengeful, the beast parted its jaws wide and leaned in sharply. Right then, a faint popping echoed inside a worn glove. With a brutal twist, the creature's neck snapped and it released Shenwu. Then understanding dawned. Do wasn't just for show, the man had style to spare. Wielding temple demon power, when he broke his own bones, the monsters suffered the same fate. The beast attacked, but Shanu removed his glove, snapped his wrist, commanding its death. The monster's neck contorted horrifically and burst apart in an instant. Its lifeless body slumped nearby, its head left at his feet like a trophy ball. Shanu explained that once a demon's head was removed, it lost all power over mist. Everyone else was stunned into silence, their minds struggling to grasp the truth. He said it was a perfect opportunity to experiment, until Kang accused him of awakening both weapon and demon for ulterior purpose. He instantly denied having done such a thing. "No, there's no evidence," he insisted, but Kang seized his arm, hinting that breaking his fingers could reveal if her weapon would shatter again. At that moment, Yan applauded, interrupting to commend Shanu for doing so well his first time. Yet notably absent was one among them. He had slipped away without a trace. He wanted nothing to do with this line of work, convinced it wasn't for him. He craved just a quiet, normal existence, far from epic battles fueled by cursed powers. No one had told him yet, but as the story's protagonist, escaping conflict wouldn't be his fate. Yu Young shook her head, murmuring that someone fleeing so easily couldn't qualify as an agent. Meanwhile, Kang silently tried to understand the strange events she'd witnessed. Despite all the available targets, the creature had unmistakably gone after only him. Yu Young instantly told the others to find him and verify his survival. It was only Kang who saw an obvious point no one else had noticed. If the leader was dead, why did the yellow mist still linger? Everyone soon questioned it too, as Maru stood before a gate flooding the air with thick mist. He questioned its presence, silently searching for a reason. Suddenly, a brand new beast materialized, towering and imposing, maybe 15 meters tall. Once Maru ducked out of sight behind a leafy bush. Why was he singled out once more from everyone else? Why did he, desperate to escape, always stumble right into a new disaster? He stole a glance to see if it left, but the monster lurked just behind him. Just then, the girl with streaked hair called out for Kang Chana. Yes, that's her actual name. She wanted to know the situation, and he replied that he'd gotten a message direct from HQ. Level 3 demon's presence was discovered nearby. Yu Young thought it strange since demons rarely appeared one after the other like this. When Kang demanded the location, we could imagine. the boy fleeing madly through the forbidden zone, falling, rising, then spotting his father's home yet again. At least he was familiar with this spot and where to hide. Racing to a house with an iron door, he ducked behind it, breathless, unsure what that creature was. Peering through a crack, he consoled himself that surely the demon wouldn't chase him here. Of course, it stood nearby. Why was this being so fixated on him? He didn't recognize the orb circling its head. As a gate creaked open, an old man entered, calling for someone while commenting on the thick yellow mist. The old man's cataracts were severe. He couldn't perceive the giant 50-meter monster looming ahead. The beast grinned hungrily, and Maru knew only he could act to safeguard this old man's life. But his strength was simply not enough. How could he hope to accomplish this? He recalled Yu Young's lesson: demon-powered people might heal injuries rapidly. Still, a mortal wound in the mist could easily be fatal. His hands shook. With death close, he debated hiding rather than risking it all for this stranger. The elderly man squinted, questioning if that was Changguk's mother ahead. Even the beast looked unsure at her words. Echoing those words, the woman stepped nearer, warning it for its mimicry. Suddenly, she froze. Despite her weak sight, she now saw sharply this creature before her. Facing the monster's immense form, she reeled, shaken by the sight she could now comprehend. But the creature kept repeating her phrases aloud. Raising a crazed finger tipped with spikes, it carefully took aim. It struck in as blood splattered. I'd wager Maru had shielded her, and I was right. When the old lady opened her eyes, the boy's bloodied figure lay motionless in her lap. He feebly inquired if she was all right. She replied yes, yet he slumped onto her, wounded and missing an arm, pierced all over. This young one endures, barely able to keep his eyes open. He urged the old woman to flee, questioning why fate cursed him with such weak power. His skill was as ineffective as the countless resumes he once sent to employers. He realized he would die here, unable to save the woman. He wished someone might save him instead. As hope faded, the yellow mist started to spread around his arm. Strange patterns surfaced on his neck, betraying him with cultural marks and a drool of legend. Then with sudden energy, he hurled himself at the beast and bit into it. The same moment, Kang leapt through the deep woods. A scream sounded close behind. She spun around to look. She rushed through the gate and stopped short at the unbelievable sight before her. Marou was devouring the monster's neck. Stunned, she couldn't grasp this rookie's actions. The beast seized Maru by the head and slammed him straight into the wall. He was nearly unconscious, but seemed to have eaten the hunk he'd managed to tear away. The monster, in contrast, was overtaken by rage. The brash youth had dared to tear off a piece of him. As the monster attempted escape, Kay spotted something unusual. Was the portion Maru ate beginning to regenerate? She was puzzled, but decided this was not the time to worry over such a thing. She sprinted toward the creature, vaulted, and seized one crystal from its form. Then, drawing on her steel demon power, she changed the crystal into a gleaming blade. The beast bellowed, launching a rain of spikes at her. She spun round just in time, deflecting every missile with her transformed sword. The monster had to block its own sharpened assault, turning defense back on itself. Now she stood before the danger, breathtaking yet lethal in her daunting beauty. With a deliberate stroke, she split the beast in two, and it dissolved completely into dust. The clash had ceased. Ruby drops rained, painting the scene red and signaling an end. She moved toward the elderly woman to check if she was unharmed. The elderly figure appeared to have lost consciousness. Moments passed then. As dust replaced blood on Kang's clothes, she gently reassured the baffled woman. A wild boar came by. That's common, the woman mumbled. Kang soothed her, promising to manage such creatures. Grateful, the woman thanked her and quietly made her way home. Han's look changed sharply and her focus hardened. She fixed her eyes on Maru, intent on uncovering the child's mysterious origins. Never had she known a novice to recover a whole arm out of mere thin air. Technically, his supposed weak power should be little more than a minor nuisance. Our boy, overwhelmed, lamented having to work tomorrow, especially after encountering the spiked terror. Despairing, Marva dropped onto his mattress, determined not to take that job. Though he needed employment badly, fatigue overtook any thought and he chose sleep instead. Yet if fate denied him anything, it was the slightest shred of tranquility. Once again he dreamed of a crimson battlefield where monsters feasted and destroyed. Someone's voice echoed in the dream, bidding him to return. He jolted awake, sweated and gasping, staring at his hands and unable to grasp his vision. When dawn broke, he peered outside to witness the entire mountain smoldering in flames. Mid charred branches and trees, an ashen being moved, kindling widespread fire. Drenched girl suddenly appeared, hurling water against the fiery beast. Truthfully, the small sprays posed little challenge to the inferno. Yet she did not face the creature alone. Another arrived and wielded ice, freezing the beast's leg, transforming it into a giant icicle. The girl summoned the leader, remarking on how odd the situation felt to her. Such creatures were never seen after dusk, but the guy said not to concern herself for now. They needed to halt the fire's spread first. Already the monster had started to melt the ice. He drew two swords, declaring he would deal with the threat. He rushed the monster when suddenly a wicked eye appeared on his forehead, ordering, "Bring that person." Straight away the beast shook loose from its binds. The captain and the beast closed the gap, one bracing to attack, the other preparing to punch. The man blocked the strike but was thrown into a tree, crashing violently against it. He was completely battered. The drenched girl called for help. The leader panicked while the beast crouched, forming a cauldron shape on its back. Lava spilled over, and the captain could see the monster swelling in power and size. Elsewhere in Su headquarters, emergency lights blinked red and alarms howled incessantly. Yu Young urgently asked for a situation report. With so many danger warnings, it was clear events were swiftly declining. A staff member said 20 mountains were under attack at once, and that monster incidents had become unpredictable. This had only begun earlier this week, and the reason behind it remained a mystery. Suddenly, another staff member announced an urgent call was coming from Buin. Yu Young took the call asking what was wrong, and was greeted at once, "Hey big sis." Bob Mayengi, head of the Busan branch, wanted to know when she'd come visit his city. She sighed a greeting and prompted him to continue, so he began explaining the problem. The portal had stayed open for 3 days without closing. Yan was left speechless. How could that possibly be? More creatures kept flooding through the rift. The local team was drained from endless combat, with no chance to pause or recover. You asked the reason the portal refused to close. Has anyone found out why? Mayengi said the monster just kept repeating a single message. They sent a girl with the power to interpret to unravel its meaning. The monster's words, it demanded someone be brought to it. Chaos reigned as the beast raged on. You, still wondering, asked who this person was. My Oni confessed that was the issue at hand. No one had an answer, he knew only that whoever it was must come quickly. You decided to make a call to summon aid by helicopter. A man answered, questioning the urgency of the situation. She briefed him rapidly on the chaos unfolding atop the mountain. Without delay, he moved to the helicopter's ledge and declared, "I'm on my way." He requested our call after matters were settled, then soared like a comet from the helicopter. As he plunged, he crossed a curtain of golden mist. This man exuded complete bravery. Suddenly, he activated spatial reverse, floating unwavering in the sky. He descended elegantly atop the portal's frame. Amazed, those below asked who this reckless stranger from the clouds could be. A woman on the ground shouted for him to climb down instantly. It was risky, but the red-hooded demon looked satisfied, grinning at his arrival. The demon rushed the woman, foot aimed in a deadly arch. He narrowly escaped harm. Danger peaked, the monster now leered above, trapping her without escape. Suddenly, the newcomer broke reality, tearing out the beast's spine in a single sweep. The monster froze, he commended the team for their efforts, allowing them to rest. From that moment, he assured all that he would oversee what came next. The captain was elated, yet the girl demanded to know the identity of this man. The captain revealed this was the original special ability user, founder of the task force. With a stretch and hand to the earth, the man declared, "Let's finish this quickly." Before them stood the strongest demon wielder, Director Jung Il-do, in his full glory. Violet veins crept over the surface, reaching up, higher, soaring even above the shining moon. All who looked on from afar wondered in awe what sort of phenomenon was unfolding there. The bespectacled man confessed he'd only known of this supreme spatial gift in theory. Jang was forging a passage right through the golden fog, undeterred and unstoppable. Elsewhere, the lava beast had grown massive, the frozen defender's strength was almost gone. The girl fell and her companion warned her to rise so both wouldn't perish as the beast attacked. The ice wielder tried frantically to raise a wall, but it crumbled as he was hurled away. Blows landed again and again till the final traces of his shield completely disintegrated. He slammed into the earth, chest heaving as he struggled desperately for air. He realized this was certain doom. He accepted that this moment was the one in which he would meet his end. But suddenly a great tear opened up in reality behind the monster. JN grabbed the beast's head and hurled its entire form into that chasm. The burst startled a cloud of crows, causing them to scatter chaotically across the sky. Jung announced it was time to eliminate not just this beast but every last monster. He engaged the power of each rift device at his command. Gangan province, a boy lay beneath a monster's crushing assault. The beast chanted in an unknown tongue and stabbed him, but a rift pulled it away just then, dragging monsters from every attacked mountain. This phenomenon repeated, unfolding the same way elsewhere. Monsters gathered together through these rifts, which made them easier to manage but far more threatening. Conversely, one assistant noticed the risk lights fading, while the director assured this signaled his safe arrival. There was hope. Jung's scheme succeeded, all the monsters now gathered in a single spot. There was trouble. Jum's scheme worked, all monsters at once collected in the same spot. Even so, Zhang couldn't hide his excitement. It had begun. As the demon howled and lunged, Zhang coolly chose a target and split reality apart. Then, moving fluid and fast, he spun like Michael Jackson, attacking in all directions together. Monster head soared, while the rest of his team could only stare in astonishment. Never before had they witnessed such overwhelming strength. JN then reached the molten beast and summoned the translator to his side. He instructed her to address the situation. He asked why the monsters were unusually restless this week, and the translator said, "Bring that person." Jung's brows knit together as he asked, "Who is this person?" The creature merely echoed the same inquiry back. The translator explained that the beast was parroting Zhang's exact words. Without pause, Zhang drove the creature down into the earth. He declared, "If that's the situation, we'll eliminate them until it ceases." Dripping scarlet, he directed his gaze once more to the portal before him. Laying his palm on the earth, he wrenched open a dark maw beneath the ground. Everything vanished inside, a remarkably effective approach to resolve matters. In the background, a squad member finally let out a tense sigh. Comforted, she knew with Zhang they always had shelter and hope. In seconds he sealed the power, the portal disappeared entirely. The following day at headquarters, Yu Young breezed in and questioned Jian about the portal. He replied that it rested within his void and admitted the feat had drained him. The demanding woman insisted he just continue solving every problem just as always. Zhang replied bitterly, stating he had boundaries as well. He knew running the entire organization alone just wasn't possible. He switched on the TV, claiming he understood, but he had already collected all the facts. He requested this. The screen showed images of each one of the newest recruits. Yuang wanted to learn what made him so focused on these individuals. He said his effort was to understand the demons' goals, not just their desire for excess. He sought to uncover the reason the demons targeted him specifically. Among countless monstrous forms, a single huge woman's body spoke and sent Bri and I watched, its message repeating. Mid these happenings, the day Maru entered his new job unfolded. Maru showed up for his government job. His mother wept when she heard the news. Though unable to share anything, her happiness meant he simply could not decline. Arriving, he was promptly greeted by the Hawaiian shirt man who harshly questioned his return. The man disapproved, saying he disliked cowards. Maru noticed only the smell of booze, then the boss appeared as Shinwo declared his wish to leave in anger. He requested a transfer to a position in the main city. Shrugging, the chief confessed he didn't know why a level 7 had been sent. Obviously, something was mistaken. Regardless, both men were now members of Gang's team. Maru wondered what he'd do when there were no demons, but the office was busy fighting zombies and investigating dead things. Yet quickly he realized the reality. It was just a typical, ordinary workplace after all. The man in the Hawaiian shirt gave his name as Go Dimon, introducing himself as leader. The girl in glasses was Yun Jan with 7 years experience, Kimak equally veteran, and the familiar face Yasu. Yasu had worked here a year. D-Man told everyone to get along and Maru nervously sat down. He began to wonder if all newcomers had felt such pressure their first day. Uneasy, he greeted everyone when suddenly Samu glared at him, insisting he stop staring. The rebuke left Maru feeling completely deflated. Meanwhile, Shanu was irritated at his assignment to such a remote outpost. So Maru shifted his focus toward Yasu, who was intently looking at luxury items online. He wondered aloud, asking about the true nature of their work. With a relaxed gesture, Yosa explained they specialized in handling the ominous yellow dust. Seoul boasted 13 divisions, sending those above level 7 on unique assignments. Their own island mainly accommodated misfits and those with unusual personalities. Accommodated Maru misfits and those with saw himself in that personalities but couldn't shake the strange feeling lingering about the place. Yuk mentioned that some talented individuals willingly chose to work this job. Just then both turned and noticed a determined girl absorbed in shaping her skills. Maru sat up unsettled as her eyes lingered directly on him. Jan urged her to go home post-shift, but she stayed, insisting she had no reason to leave. Kei-chana witnessed silent as events unfolded, realizing where Maru ended up. Things had begun to take a curious and unexpected turn. She woke forgetful of yesterday, as Maru was stunned to hear he'd get risky duty pay. The pay seemed generous, but earning hazard bonuses confirmed danger was never far. Yasup pointed out it was actually quintuple the normal wage, leaving M in shock. That amount of pay could really make your head spin. Annoyed, Yasu told him to back off and keep busy, while Maru wondered about his purpose here. As days slid by, Maru increasingly settled into the flow. He never thought he'd find easy or high-paying work like this. Gutman stretched with satisfaction, declaring the shift had finally ended. He greeted the new recruits, asking if anything troubled them or if they had concerns. Shamu declined, but Maru inquired deeply about where demons originated and meant. Gutman responded with a shrug, admitting no one really held the answer. Shamu offered a belief shared by many, that demons fell from the sky. Maru grasped that their origins were unclear, but few seemed bothered by this uncertainty. Despite facing chaos, they persisted at work, faithful yet resigned to a doomed fate. Returning to headquarters, Yu Young exited the elevator and spotted Jiang by a golden pod. He inquired about her thoughts. After noting reports, she said monster events were steady now. Yet Jiang stared at the swirling yellow mist, pondering the origin of this surge in beasts. Yang guessed they were edging ever near the core of the mystery they pursued. Jiang remained uncertain about everything. Watching Fallen Angel upside down and with white hair, Jiang quietly confessed his lingering doubts. John wanted the leaders on alert, for exposure of these facts could plunge the group into bedlam. Next, Maru appeared asking about the subject. The others, busy with barbecue, claimed that moments like these called for true celebration. Yao said this prophecy urged them to squeeze each drop from daily life, despite confusion. Maru pressed for details and Hoppin finally revealed a foretelling that within a year demons would descend, portals would rip across Earth and blood would drench the world. Maru thought it sounded dreadful, but Goodman told him this was knowledge to keep completely quiet. The secret was highly classified, while Yam pushed everyone to drink until they couldn't anymore. Yuk declared a wish to go home, as Shana warned of tomorrow's responsibilities needing caution. Apparently, Sanu's greatest downfall was his aversion to alcohol. He was already beyond tipsy and entirely unconscious. Maru kept urging soberness, baffled that knowledge of doom prompted no fear among his companions. Just then, radiant golden beams broke out above a high mountain ridge. Celestial gate tore open in the sky and yellow dust poured forth relentlessly. From that strange rift reached innumerable outstretched hands. As the first bald monster appeared, all phones started sounding urgent horror with emergency alarms. The disappointed sigh, Yu Young griped that nighttime calamities spoiled her rare peace. Kang Chana stood saying she'd return soon, so wanted to join but she declined, choosing only Han Maru. Maru preferred to avoid every part of this chaos. He sat with his head against the car's glass, searching for reasons he got caught up in it. Kang gently called his name, telling him there was no need for such worry about the prophecy. Maru replied with seriousness, voicing her faith that those in charge had everything under control. He was unaware of the talented force behind the organization. Their task was clear: to hunt demons. Maru couldn't help but admire her bravery, even though he was shaking with fear inside. She then observed his unique talent with genuine excitement, expressing curiosity about his potential. Mara felt joy for the first time, truly seen by someone who had high hopes for him. She chuckled, "I've never seen someone eat quite like that," guessing it was a gluttonous trait. Maru was lost, so she clarified, his power actually seemed like he could devour demons themselves. He disliked this idea, but suddenly a monster was skewered. Kang easily subdued it, looking his way. She grinned, "Do I really need to spell it out? Eat it," a playful twinkle in her eyes. She explained that he could block the monster's healing and was eager to witness his skill. It was now his moment of truth, time to taste what fate had set before him. Mara paused, tearing off a piece of tentacle, and resigned himself to his strange assignment. He swallowed his disgust and pictured eating octopus at a nice eatery to calm his nerves. He approached at last, jaws set yet managing only a hesitant nip at the horrific meal. Kang teased him, urging Maru to give real effort and truly take a proper bite. He was told to truly commit. Maru agreed, reluctantly chewing as instructed. The next morning found Maru in misery at work, his whole body feeling terrible. Zan Wu grinned, making fun that rumor had it Maru had vomited the previous day. He simply let it go, not caring at all about being called a fool. Maru then asked Samanyu about his expectations. Samu sneered, doubting his worth for the team. Samu muttered that someone more capable should have joined their ranks instead. Maru was told to be glad Commander Kang considered his power even slightly valuable. Storming off, Samu called Maru worthless, and though it hurt, Maru could admit he was right. He realized he urgently needed to snap out of it and put more heart into his work. The alarm blared, but as Kang called for him, Maru was in the bathroom, wrestling with his new reality. He possessed a talent, though it allowed him to devour monsters, which wasn't truly fortunate. As he made his way down the hallway, he bumped into Kang and nearly lost his composure. He felt stunned, as if his spirit slipped away. Kang raised an eyebrow and asked if he'd hidden in the bathroom. Maru confessed he'd heard the siren but suffered food poisoning after biting that beast. Kang sighed quietly, lowering her gaze. She mumbled, "You really aren't built for this work." She added he didn't need to serve the government just because he was gifted. Alternatively, he could simply sign an agreement promising silence about these matters. His other choice was to live under surveillance for his remaining years. Maru was startled, expecting the alternative to be less severe. Kang pointed out this beat dying in conflict, as such resolve rarely lasted. With behavior like his, he could easily botch a rescue and let the person die instead. If the job was beyond him, he truly needed to step away from it. Now up close, Kang whispered, "We have no use for those who bring nothing." Poor Maru, criticized everywhere. At the office, Kang figured Maru had likely given up. One might believe this sparked his determination. Instead, Maru stood content upon a bridge, relishing a rare moment of peace. Perhaps he wasn't meant for this path. Maybe being watched was preferable to falling in combat, unaware he was the main character. Escape seemed hopeless. Just then his phone vibrated. It was his mother's call. He answered, mind already wandering to how he wished to leave monster fighting behind. He greeted her, asking what she was doing. She revealed she was hiking on Inweng Mountain, causing Maru to pause and sigh. Hadn't he already warned her not to go up those mountains? Suddenly the call connection grew noisy. She stopped, confused, and asked about the thick yellow dust in the air. His heart sank in an instant. The call disconnected abruptly. Dread filled the air. The urge to act surged through Wang Mountain with renewed force. Already the security team was at the scene, preparing to face the fiend. The guards froze in indecision. One saw a beast high in a tree chewing a human arm, its forehead aglow with a crystal. Flashed them a chilling grin. Meanwhile, Maru darted toward the mountain as the security team's last members perished in moments. Level 5 demon feasted on all the recruits and no defenders remained. Suddenly, the stout regional chief arrived, made clones, and urged survivors to alert backup forces. As she delayed the fiend, another dashed to contact headquarters by landline. Phones were useless in these woods, making the landline their only hope for help. Back at headquarters, the crisis echoed. Yui Young got the urgent reports and took took command, orchestrating swift action. He warned of clear danger to civilians. If a level 5 demon reached the city, untold tragedy would unfold. Every passing moment hastened disaster. Everyone must hurry. Maru closed in amidst the urgency. But someone else arrived before Maru, leaping from a cab and racing to the entry. He found the hiking group and anxiously searched each face for his mother. She was nowhere to be seen, so he begged a guide to let him pass, explaining his mother was there. But the guide denied entry, warning that wild beasts had been reported. Maru silently scoffed. He knew demons, not animals, were the threat here. As guards secured the regular gate, Maru stealthily scaled the mountainside on another route. It offered the quickest ascent. He climbed on, praying his mother remained out of harm's reach deep in the fog. Amid the thick golden fog, someone limped with an injured ankle. It was Jiga, Chad's mother. Without hesitation, she knelt down, offered her back, and gently carried the woman herself. She stopped, sensing movement in the mist, and whispered, "Is that a hand?" reaching toward her. Suddenly, Maru arrived, full of worry and fear. His mother spun around in shock. "How in the world did you manage to track me down?" He shared that he had found her thanks to her recent post on social media. She wanted to discuss his new job, but he declined. "Not right now," the other woman, smiling, said. "Ah, so this is your son you've spoken of. I'm glad for you. A government job means a lot." Her mother smiled. "Now I just need to find him a bride since he isn't popular with girls." Maru sighed. "Let's focus, please, we have to leave." Suddenly he sensed it. The demon loomed above. And he glanced up, his gaze locked directly with the demon's eyes. At once a wave of panic washed over him, overwhelming his thoughts. His breaths faltered, sharp and uneven with fear. Trapped, he like this found himself instantly frozen. Every demon encounter triggered this helplessness. How could he ever defend his mother while trapped like this? Suddenly an attack from below. The hurt woman said softly, "Hey, that boy looks troubled." Maru's mother let out a shrill cry, calling his name in terror. The demon whirled around and lunged straight for her. Reaching for her son as the demon struck, she watched helpless. He tripped and tumbled, unable to reach her in time. The demon was poised to sink its fangs into his mother. Maru cried out in terror, when suddenly an unexpected attack changed everything. The demon collapsed to the earth, its back along smoldering with blood. Lost in confusion, Maru stared in disbelief at the wounded beast. He wondered where those blades embedded in its back had come from. His mother exclaimed in fright, "What in the world is that thing?" Looking closer, she noticed something perched atop her son's head. Maru looked up, realizing the knives were manifestation of the demon power he'd absorbed. He recalled that one of the foes he battled had exactly this same strange power. Peculiar sensation tugged at his back as another knife materialized there. He thought to himself, unbelievable, he could now wield that ability as his own. His strength was beyond halting regeneration, it extended to stealing powers. With a faint smile, Maru observed, "Let's discover what this new gift can achieve." Already defeated, the demon was now feebly crawling away behind him. The demon seemed much weaker than Maru had braced himself for, oddly so. Why was the mountain's defenders losing to so feeble an enemy? Elsewhere, a wounded soldier slouched near the fence. He was approached by two agents who had come from headquarters. One agent softly asked, "Are you injured? Are you okay?" Trembling, the soldier explained, "The demon was terrifying, it annihilated my unit." The first agent, stroking his chin with uncertainty, remarked, "That's incredible, the region's leader is a level 7 user." Another agent with slick-back hair inquired about the demon's powers, to which the soldier answered it had mirror ability. This was now the true threat that Maru faced. Suddenly, something iridescent flickered across the demon's back. Recognition made Maru's eyes instantly widen. The attack Maru used was mimicked, and in an instant the demon's crystals pierced his body. He did not panic, only amazed. That creature mimicked his move perfectly. The demon's forehead shone like glass as it advanced toward him. Maru understood at once, this was a power rooted in reflecting actions. The creature proceeded to imitate each of his moves. If Maru pressed an attack, the demon would return it identically. Suddenly, he heard his mother behind him wailing in agony. He spun around quickly to confront what was happening behind him. Blood trickled from her knee. He focused on her healing powers over his own wounds. He lifted his shirt to reveal injuries, assuring her, "I'm fine, don't worry." Defined muscles revealed, a surge of primal resolve. He knew he must destroy the beast to save his mother. He told her to hide and promised to handle it, resolute as a civil guardian facing danger. He vowed to swiftly face this threat and quickly return. He catapulted at the beast, clasped its waist, and hurled it from the mountain, plummeting together. His mother's anguished cry filled the air as crows erupted and rose into the sky. Ara landed atop a higher ledge as the beast helplessly crashed below. He stood sore and bruised, but his body steadily began to restore itself. His only concern was to keep the monster as distant from his mother as possible. If he could stall long enough, rescuers would soon come and resolve all as planned. Yet two agents newly sent from base encountered an even graver menace. Not just one high-level beast, countless others surged forward, forming a monstrous horde. They stared. A perplexed agent realized all the monsters eerily resembled each other. The bald agent deduced that the mountain's leader had been duplicated due to her ability. He understood only by eliminating the real one could they hope to end this. But the pressing challenge was identifying which form was the original. Unconcerned, his partner smiled, saying, I'll defeat them all regardless. Leaping ahead, he struck the ground, blasting foes away. His companion thought him foolish. However, it was evident, by their combat style, the true original was absent. Below Mara, one absorbed yellow dust. Both the beast and Mara healed rapidly. But now his energy waned as the constant strain to recover left him weary. In that moment, a voice echoed in the silence. "What's wrong, Maru?" Hearing his mother's tone from the beast, Maru snapped, "Don't do that." He shouted furiously, hurling a canister of NOS at the creature. But his shot was hopeless. He grumbled, controlling another power was tougher than it looked. Meanwhile, the beast calmly shaped a crystal and hurled it with precision into his shoulder. That only made him angrier. In response, he released a full volley of knives. One landed squarely in the monster's shoulder. Maru celebrated for a moment, but the creature merely grunted, shook, and healed instantly. Disappointment washed over Maru. They both had similar attack skills, but the monster healed even slower, proving its weakness. He recalled his talk with Kang. She once chided him while helping him up. "You're just afraid of pain." Wounds soon vanished within the yellow mist, making them truly insignificant after all. Pain was there, true, but that was only one aspect. He also needed to consume those infernal creatures to heal himself fully. She gripped his hand tight, and he asked if there was a smarter way to battle. Kang paused, then said defeating a beast like this required beheading and denying it yellow dust. He lacked attack skills, only supporting, yet possessed unmatched healing speed in return. That showed he need not fear close combat with beasts. Maru smiled, ready in the present. If regeneration was his gift, fear faded. Gluttony now gave him strength to end this creature. But his problem, aiming, was still beyond his grasp. Scoring a precise neck strike would prove challenging. Meanwhile, the beast taunted in his mother's voice, "Is something wrong, Maru?" Then Maru made up his mind. If he couldn't aim, only one answer remained. He launched another crystal weapon at the demon. It evaded, but as it glanced up, Maru soared midair, charging for it. The beast couldn't react and unleashed yellow mist, but Maru bit the blade, halting the attack. The next instant, it wrapped its hand around his throat. The beast leaned in close, questioning him, "Why do you keep resisting like this?" It pressed him to a boulder, hurling them skyward and slamming him atop the peak. Maru gasped for air, unable to summon the strength of his gluttony ability. "But you forced yourself to sink your teeth into this thing anyway." His foe wasn't near enough, so it bit down on his throat before he could react. Unable to bite back, he snatched a knife from his back, wounding himself as he stabbed, blood oozing. He tried to stem the bleeding, but the creature looked at him, unmoving. Dizziness swept over Fen, the world spinning out of focus around him. His wound refused to close. Could the beast block his regeneration, mimicking his skill? Staring at his growing blood pool, he wondered how many dwindling seconds remained. If he lost now, what uncertain fate would follow after his defeat? Sudden memory returned. Another time, another talk he'd had with Kang. She sighed, asking him, "How many times must you faint like this?" He told her it was all from panic attacks. He said he lost control, his thoughts blanked, and dread gripped him like the end was near. Her reply rang clear, "That's exactly why you have to rise above it. Soon one of those episodes might kill you for real. Remember, civilians rely on your strength. If your defenses falter, so too do the lives entrusted to your protection in the present Giga." Nearby, Chad's mother searched for him as Maru clung to life, staunching his bleeding wound. He reached out and clutched a glowing crystal in his trembling grasp. The beast imitated his motion, and Maru recalled the wisdom Kang had shared earlier. Whatever happened, he resolved the monster would fall even if it proved his last act. With fury, he gritted his teeth, let out a wild cry, and charged straight toward the fiend. The fiend ducked aside, stabbing his ribs, but Maru hurled his blade upward, glaring, "What's your aim?" Roaring his determination, Maru snatched the weapon and let instinct drive him onward. Every crystal he hurled soared straight toward his foes. Both the monsters stood motionless and suffered each crystal's blow. Though both were struck, the last airborne knife cleaved the monster's head in one sweep. With its limbs pulled apart, the body toppled to the ground. Maru trembled, stepped back unsteadily, and collapsed inside the base. Agents watched as the monster faded, unsure if they struck down the real beast. The bald agent said the truth: the creature was felled elsewhere by another. On the mountain, Mara's wounds closed at last, though he truly felt he'd faced death that time. He intended to seek his mother, but heard his father's faint whisper, "Eat." His father gestured at the demon's body, urging him to return and consume it. At that moment, Maru realized the eccentric old man had always known the truth. This monster possessed extraordinary and elusive abilities. If Maru feasted upon it, he might earn a power. He recalled God Duckman's prediction of looming monsters. Longing for strength enough to shield his mother, he neared the demon to grasp its limb. With resolve, he started to consume his grim daily meal. Though markedly uncertain, he proclaimed from now on he'd devour any formidable demon he met. He ran his tongue across his lips in eager anticipation. Some time later, his mother awoke in the hospital, remembering little of the mountain, facing it all calmly. Mara thanked fate she'd forgotten everything. By all logic, she ought to recall, as the beast stood before her eyes. Stelly shared the TV news story of the mountain's ordeal, and explained she should avoid peril in future. His mother said she heard tales of someone like his father nearby, which led her there herself. That was when Maru pieced together the truth: his own father vanished atop a mountain. Perhaps demons were involved. He remembered seeing his father's ashen face in the woods, still bleeding and fading. He saw his father's arm gripped in a monster's ravenous maw. He'd never recalled anything like this before. Anxiety rose, but his mom's sharp words brought him back, asking why he seemed so pale. Working for the government truly left him worn out. Still a bit shaky, he assured her not to worry and that he was getting accustomed to it. At work again, someone called for Officer Marouan. He had been keeping out of sight, hoping not to draw attention. But now he stepped out awkwardly as everyone greeted him, and John instantly asked why he vanished yesterday without a word. Thayamu scoffed as if saying it should have been clear. Calling Maru a coward who ran off in fear, they mocked him, and Maru quietly offered his apology rather than explaining he left to help his mother. Meanwhile, Maru quietly somehow more offered his radiant apology each day. Mother spoke up calmly. Kang said he was sick, so I gave him leave. Maru, confused, noticed her meaningful glance urging him to stay quiet. Joan sighed, adding that Kang should have let them know if someone was going to be absent. Kang apologized at once. Joan, however, wouldn't drop it. You can't just say sorry for a mistake like that. Before things intensified, the alarm blared and Kang swiftly started gearing up. She announced she was leaving to handle a level 2 demon. Then unexpectedly, someone exclaimed with enthusiasm, "I'm going too," silencing the whole room. Soon after, they were making their way up the mountain path. During the climb, Maru apologized to Kang for making her take the blame for his actions. Kang shrugged it off and admitted she realized he left because she'd been too stern with him. He said it was all right, but wondered why he returned. Although only halfway up, Maru was already sweating and short of breath. Despite his exhaustion, he declared that he had come this time to fight. Just then, swirling yellow dust rose. In the distance, a colossal, bulky figure appeared. The earth trembled beneath them as the creature charged their way. It was a huge, gray, rotund old man announcing himself, eager for battle. Shana warned, though it's only level 2, don't assume it's weak. A whole mountain squad once fell to a level 5 demon. Maru recalled the one he bested just yesterday. Yoke, the infamous tick-toer, remarked offhandedly that the previous victims were fortunate. Since HQ handled the enemy and the main branch boasts only level 7s or higher, Maru faltered in shock. Should he reveal the truth now? Should he admit he was the one who destroyed it, though explaining his early exit yesterday might be tough? Desiring recognition for his effort, Maru hesitated, but before he could speak, Kang asked about the demon who was scratching below its arms. Voice urgently called for a retreat. Maru confidently stepped up, stating, "Don't worry, I've got this." Kang was clearly taken aback. "When did a level 1 like you think of challenging a level 2? Maru simply pointed to himself. "That level 1 is me," he said, facing the demon, hair swept back, ready to demonstrate his growth. He mocked the demon's actions, scratching his own armpits. He declared that he was no longer the team's weak link. Unbearable odor filled their surroundings. The creature sniffed loudly, screamed, and bolted, though that was Maru's intended effect. Despite feeling appalled, Maru didn't back down, charging in for close battle. He vowed not to lose to a foe like that. He landed blows to its gut, making it stagger while Yasu pinched his nose, claiming this wasn't a fair match. It felt more like chemical warfare, as Kan-cha could barely stay upright from dizziness. How could a level 7 fall victim to such a strong effect? Narrow-flailed Wildy locked in a frenzied slap duel against the creature. The monster let out a wail, suddenly aware that its own powers turned against itself. Wretch collapsed hard and fell unconscious. Arva grinned at the others and declared, "Victory is mine." They showed no sign of being impressed. Later, they all washed themselves in the river together. Kei-chana watched Maru quietly, then asked, "You can truly gain demon skills by consuming them." Maru nodded and explained the latest demon he ate had a power to mirror attacks. Yoso teased him, "So that dramatic speech of yours was all for that." That made Maru feel a twinge of embarrassment. He merely shrugged, "It's fine, you did great and are improving, so relax, Maru." But she spoiled things by adding, "Though honestly, eating those creatures is still quite shameful." They soon left, stating more demons needed searching, while Maru wondered, "Why am I stuck with that creature and why can't I look impressive once? Why am I never cool in these moments?" Then someone appeared behind him asking, "Are you Maru Han?" Maru jerked in surprise, shielding his face. "Who are you?" It was Jang, his burning question. "Did you defeat the level 5 mountain demon even though Maru's rank was only level 1? It all felt incredibly odd." Maru replied awkwardly, "Yes." Jang grinned, "I'm here to bring you to HQ and to Seoul." Maru paused, was this some kind of promotion? Jang just asked, "Do you know what the issue is?" Maru replied with a nod. He believed it was the place reserved for top members. "So why bring him there?" Jang kept smiling flamboyantly. "I recognize talent, wish the artist drew less of him and more of the characters who matter to us." At headquarters, Yu Young questioned the director about delaying the meeting. He said a promising new recruit deserved his attention, prompting her to ask if he meant his son, Shanu. "That's why, upon meeting him, I instantly disliked that person. He's an unusually strong empath." The director revealed his son hadn't spoken with him after their divorce. But the director's real interest was in someone else, another recruit, which made Yudon suspicious. "You believe this recruit could be connected to the recent appearances of stronger demons?" He nodded, sensing something was amiss, so keep watch on Gangway Island. the scene shifted into golden dust. Within what seemed a home, a frail, monstrous creature lurked in shadow, part gremlin and part nightmare. Over at the police station, Mara grinned widely, truly delighted to be invited to headquarters. This moment felt so important, its real impact striking him suddenly. Being summoned there meant greater dangers waited than those present here. He reminded himself to stay safe, appreciating the peaceful atmosphere he now worked in. Still, it was satisfying to finally earn some respect and recognition from those on high. Then Samu eyed him from across the room, asking, "Why manage that goofy grin all day?" It was plain to see Samu resented watching lower ranks like Maru enjoy more comfort in this office. But Maru, fighting back, declared, "You're the one at fault, you didn't make it to HQ, so hush." Sam's expression soured, he stood up, asking furiously, "Repeat that." Certain Maru barely ranked higher than body odor. Maru froze. How did anyone discover that embarrassment? He darted a suspicious glance, spotting Yo's pounding away at a keyboard and faking busyness. Maru instantly knew who it was. Anger blazing inside, he launched himself toward Yoso. Yoso bolted immediately, fleeing in panic for his own safety. Meanwhile, Godman roared with laughter, while Juin urged everyone to leave Maru alone. Maru sighed in relief, admitting, "Jan, you're truly kind." Then she teased, "At least you're out of the bathroom now. Now at least your only issue is lingering odor." That marks improvement, though Maru crumbled inside, his humiliation knew no end, worsened by Kang's indifference. Even after assisting her, he still felt written off as useless by the workplace. He stared at Jan's contact details. She told him to reach out once he'd chosen. Then Kang rose, announcing the sighting of a level 2 creature. Right away, Samu firmly seized her arm, stating, "I'm going this time." Samu found office life so dull he feared he'd snap without some action. He turned to Maru, saying, "You're coming too. We need to focus on teamwork." Mountain beneath the we need to focus monsters on teamwork exceed our awe for Kang Chana. Meanwhile, Maru longed to finish quickly, aching to distance himself from the madman and return home. Samu paused, saying, "This isn't as simple as it seems." Ahead, yellow dust cloaked the home. Suspecting several inside, Maru was ignored. Shamu marched ahead, urging him to catch up. The gate moaned as it opened and Maru paused at the threshold, sensing unease within those walls. Far too much yellow dust suggested a level 4 creature. Marum insisted on retreating as they entered. Though monsters might lurk anywhere, Zanu continued forward, unfazed by the threat. They approached a green door, with Maru certain the monster awaited just behind it. Siu tried the handle, but it held tight and stayed locked. Maru stepped up to stand in front of Siu. "This is risky, who knows what's beyond." But Shan Wu slipped on his gloves and was ready. "You don't want to open it, then I'll just smash it," he declared. Twisting his pinky finger, he attempted to unlock the door. When he jumped in surprise, nothing actually occurred. He was puzzled, while Marvis scoffed at his bravado when he couldn't even unlock a door. Shan Wu stooped, peering through the keyhole for answers. At the room's back sat the spindly fiend. The protagonist brushed past to inspect, declaring it frail. Yet caution was urged. So much dust must mean at least a level 7 creature, clearly dangerous. Our boy wanted to know how such a mighty being ended up stuck here. SEL could only shrug. Now everything clicked for him, his heart raced from longing to face a beast this strong. Already fleeing, our boy declared that Madman's threat made calling the base their best hope. He tried turning the lock, but it stayed closed. Frustrated, he rammed his shoulder, demanding answers. He finally deduced that their situation was certainly the work of the demon inside. Meanwhile, Shu battered the door, challenging the hidden creature to come out and battle him. But Maru shuddered, unwilling to oppose both the frightening demon and the unpredictable madman, especially with such a formidable foe within. The dark-headed figure stood silent before suddenly muttering repeatedly about feeling alone. He kept whispering, "Lonely, lonely," as his features grew twisted and strange. Sam notices his shattered hand, but the door's untouched. What on earth is this door made from? At the same time, Maru is smashing a chair at the glass, to no effect whatsoever. It seems that the lonely spirit's power had sealed them in, tightening his chest with dread. Panic seizes him as he wonders if help from the office will ever show up. 2 long hours go by and he's furious, wondering if they've been forgotten, when DF men yell there's a problem. Jan surveys the room and remarks they've overlooked the training date in Bozen. Everyone rushes, rifling through files, promising to fix the issue soon. Hang Chana bangs the keyboard, bolts up, snatches a file and passes it to his colleague. He expresses gratitude and lets everyone know they'll meet again the following day. Joan, settling on the sofa, suggests they unwind with good coffee after their struggles. This brief lull allows everyone to finally find a rare moment of calm. But then everyone wonders where the missing pair have been all this time. She, exasperated, insists this proves you can't send newbies out alone. Oddly, she tries calling them on TikTok, telling Kang Chana and another to remain put. Fact God, ever dazzling, thanks the artist before stating she's leaving too, sensing trouble ahead. Passing by Jan, she hears his warning that this place lies uncomfortably close to another. Is she truly heading out simply by chance, or has it been decided already? Silently, she urges haste, judging by her resolve I'd guess lost to demons scars her past. Now back at the house, everyone asks about the two, while a shadowy figure creeps through the dust. It's the frantic pair pleading not to let the door close, but they are sadly too late. The door slams in their faces and the winded pair wonder why they dashed inside, exhausted. Shan seeks answers. Once informed, everyone sticks by the sealed door. Gradually, the group realizes that the demon has no intention of leaving this place. Then Kang urges everyone back, pulls out a small arm and shapes a katana from herself. She swings at it, but unsurprisingly, her blow has no effect. Yasu is horrified that even with her effort, there isn't a single scratch left behind. Shan tells them to be patient and lifts her sleeve, revealing a dark orb on her arm. A little spider emerges known as Demon Spider. She sends Minnie to try, but her big spider can't fit and the plan fails. The boy sees her comforting the spider and thinks she's the strangest one in the group. Soundmo urges TikTok to help for once, but he claims he has no special talents. Maru uses the moment to taunt him, calling TikTok totally useless during conflict. Yet our boy snaps back, claiming Maru is the one who's actually pointless. He asks why Maru won't use his stolen abilities to help, but Maru replies the creature is too distant to target. Just then, it appears nobody has any real use in their predicament. Shanwoo wonders who'll rescue them if everyone's gone, but Jan says the absent leader won't return before tomorrow. Yosik interjects to remind the group that Kaimi's still an option. Nearby, the elderly best man suddenly shows up, startling all of them at his appearance. They question when he managed to arrive unnoticed. He explains he came because everyone hadn't returned, as they're startled by his unnoticed presence. After he examines the lock, Jan asks if he can manage it on his own. Quite unexpectedly, the old man sprawls on the ground and just goes right to sleep. Maru privately wonders if this man is either completely relaxed or harbors a strange power. Jan admits she doesn't know what his ability is, having never witnessed it herself. The defeated are drowning in disappointment. So far, none who tried to rescue them have shown any worth. Joan claps for attention and urges cooperation, but Sahun reminds her they exhausted all options. She demands whether he's really ready to face death doing absolutely nothing. TikTok proposes waiting for the leader, as our boy nervously chews his nails behind them. He ponders the reason for Kay standing still, doing absolutely nothing at all. That behavior struck him as quite peculiar and out of place. Yet Yoso wants to comprehend why this demon isn't taking any hostile actions toward them. Suddenly, a tremor erupts and Kang dashes away, shouting it's from the main room. She flings open the door, peeks inside, and finds the whole room trembling in motion. Walls and ceiling sink lower as the entire house shrinks right before their eyes. At that moment, Sanu announces that the lonely Hakken now serves an obvious purpose. They'll go on shrinking their world until only a single room remains from the whole house. Maru realizes they'll be crushed by the walls since they can't break them, and despair grips all. Our boy needs a fix and then recalls, through a flashback, women gathering plants years ago. A younger, livelier Kay arrives with a cheerful greeting, her sister joyfully rushing to embrace her. Together, a joyous family spent days nestled among mountain landscapes. Fate hints at sorrow, as the close siblings dreamt of one day being with Grandma forever. Kang mentioned the drawing on the wall and warned her, but her sister explained it showed their contented life together. The child sketched it on the wall, which now shrinks. Determined, she summoned a mighty blade to fight, but her sword soon gave way and the house closed in. Knowing she needed more blood, she grew grave and braced herself for what was next. Bandages wound around her entire body, covering her completely. Her neck looked ashen and Jan cried out, urging her to stop because it was getting too risky. That's when Maru entered, pulled her away, and broke the sword in the process. Devastation took hold as she sobbed for her lost home, but Maru rescued her with only moments to spare. The girl had fainted, and Juwon tried everything to rouse her from unconsciousness. He instantly sensed she'd collapsed from using too much of her mystical blood. He questioned why she risked so much for the wall, and Samu explained the house belonged to her grandmother, whose loss with her brother was devastating. Alone after their deaths, she survived and awakened her powers living in this place. Now Maram finally saw her motives in fear, while Yos said the house was no longer shrinking. They needed to discover a way to escape soon. Before options faded and seeing what Kang tore off, Jan remarks with a clever saying. Gentle water will strike patiently at stone until even the calm endure fury. Sometime after, the noise of attacks ripples through the silent woods. There, Rue managed to make a small opening with relentless effort and countless knife hits. By then, everyone was spent completely and incapable of action. The knife drops onto Maru's knees, and Samu tells him he's up next. Weary and with his arm aching and dry lips just as he starts, Kang grabs the knife and resolves to try. He urges her to rest, but she insists, goes straight to the wall and begins to scrape. A young man mentions he's heard this was the house of her grandmother. Curious about the well-kept yet deserted state, he believed she tended to the place. She reveals she continued out of hope the demon that murdered her kin would appear again. Maru can't comprehend how she knows the beast would someday come back. She tells him that creature from back then was unlike any other known demon. Femininely shaped being stepped out through the opening in the gate. She froze in terror at that moment and couldn't move a step. Looking to the side, she saw another creature, this one nearing her. He had a male figure, gazed at her, and seemed wise and cunning. There seemed intentions behind their acts, more than simple killing sprees. She's certain that, if the prophecy's true, the beast will rise again. Now he sees why she serves on the island team, even as just a level 7 user. She wonders if he thinks less of her, since her motive may feel overused. But Maru replies no, for his reasons are needing the work and the decent wage. While scuffing at the wall, she teases that he'll like Sue where the pay's higher still. He questions her knowledge, and she mentions overhearing Zhang's conversation with him that day. As she's about to say he will do well, the room lurches, throwing all explanation aside. People start yelling for the hallway, urging each other to flee the trembling quarters. Maru wonders, amid the rush, what she was about to say before chaos broke out. By morning, the home had already diminished to half its original size. Weariness overtakes everyone as they begin to question if relief will ever arrive. Yasu declares their survival now hinges solely upon their leader's actions. Still, doubts grow as he wonders, why has the leader not arrived yet? Yaches, why has the leader not tranquilly dozing while our avd hero yet fumes that despite their troubles, Kim sleeps on. At that moment, tremors return as our protagonist pushes to drag Kim Yak from the hall. Now the man rises, covered in fungus, resembling a hollow specter to all present. People demand answers from him, and he calmly remarks that now feels just right for his move. The door bursts open, sending forth the desperate, fungus-shrouded creature into the light. Kim Y, rattled by questions, admits he released the mold demon, a slow but devastating threat. Applause and admiration follow as everyone praises his feat, but embarrassment reddens his cheeks. Yet Xanu and Kang caution not to lose focus. The weeping demon faces them until something appears on its back. An army of beings emerges gazing at the group, proving the once lonely presence was not alone at all. Maru always suspected that creature's true nature. When the hive lunged, a strange crimson thread unwound from the demon's spine. Kang instructed Yoke to shelter them and used his nearly invisible zero-presence skill to hide. A pressed ahead, expertly cutting through every demon standing in his path. But a narrow hallway trapped her sword, its blade catching constantly on the panels. With her weapon stuck and danger near, our hero seized the moment and bit the beast's neck. Yet as he was being gnawed apart, he stretched up, closing his fist resolutely. The ceiling began to drop and Tower's voice quaked, crying out that doom was on them. Our hero then disagreed. He showcased the mighty potential of his mirror ability. With a grand gesture, he flung his arms skyward and ordered the ceiling to halt instantly. His companion commended him, though demons still attacked until Samu broke a pinky, causing one's head to explode. He even told the lad to stay safe behind the shield since his level was hardly significant. Maru opened his mouth to caution him, but his warning came a moment too late. Countless monsters climbed and bit him on the shoulder, arm, and stomach. Suddenly, a huge white form burst forth, stabbing its way through the beasts. Joan's tiny spider now towered over everyone, colossal in its new size. Her eyes were shut as if guiding her beast, while Kang and Samu fought fiercely together. Within the barrier, Shanu and the boy gazed at each other silently. They exchanged playful jabs and praised their courage, jokingly mocking their efforts before all. At that moment, Jan wondered at the endless horde and the boy dashed off, promising to help instantly. He asked for clear route, and Kang alongside Simu swiftly responded. Breaking through, he tumbled into the room, finding the true foe crouched behind Kappas. He saw that the enemy fought through clones, birthing anew whenever its head was struck. So Maru spread his arms and declared he'd collapse the ceiling and let it perish there. Just as he moved to escape, his power went unchecked. The collapsing ceiling sped up dangerously. Reaching for his friends, he barely secured help and was dragged to safety in the nick of time. Now that everyone was outside, a shared celebration began. People admired his mirror skill, declaring it astonishing and remarkable. Kang glanced aside, quietly recalling special moments with her grandmother and brother. Arvu observed her, then calmly ended the mirror skill since the menace was no more. He approached the fallen beast, preparing to consume it as the others looked on in confusion. Having devoured one before, he hurried, taking in the yellow dust left swirling in the air. Using the monster's power, he tried shifting the walls but soon ran out of dust and strength. Gently, Kang caught his arm, reassured him, and expressed her gratitude warmly. Though it wasn't every detail, he'd revived enough for the image to shine again. Returning to work, D-Man bursts in eagerly, feels something is brewing, then notices it's empty. He even went out of his way for the finest bread in Busan, so why wasn't anyone there? He searches for the lounge, wondering if those kids are still asleep this early. Suddenly his phone rings, it's Zhang, and he asks, curious what's going on. Zhang wastes no time. He says Maru refused to come to HQ, wanting to know why. D-Man glances around and sees the girls peacefully sleeping, looking serene and lovely. But there was our guy, sweaty, rumpled, certainly not at ease himself. Things weren't perfect for him yet, but he was slowly blending in with the team. Then the scene flashes, he's being helplessly ripped apart as someone yells, run. We jump back 7 hours. That's a hefty spoiler. Sleepy and worn out, he sighs. Never knew earning a living was so hard. Still sore from fighting the demon, he hears a car zoom by. Of course, it's a Porsche. Naturally, it's Shan Wu, the wealthy and notoriously arrogant millionaire. Unabashed as always, our boy asks him for a lift, but Shamu just accelerates, ignoring him. Suddenly, TikToker appears, wistfully admitting envy for someone who even owns an imported ride. Still, it's odd for a public official to drive such a car. Maru agrees, plus thinks the man's odd character means looks or status don't matter, for he likely lacks real friends. The two share a laugh, but inside, Maru broods, knowing he lacks fame and friends never wins. Next up, they show up at work exhausted as D-Man hails him as a level 7 ability user. Perplexed Perplexed, he nudges D-Man aside, puzzled about the source of their excitement. That's when Jae-wan clarifies, devouring a level 7 made him one he'd inherited its strength. Then someone claps his back, admitting they doubted him but saying he finally has use. Blushing, our boy relishes his first taste of team recognition, and Yasu adds he's genuinely gifted. For the first time, someone confidently predicts he'll be growing ever mightier. Suddenly, Sayemu slams the desk, announcing work has started and it's time to quit chatting. It dawns on our boy that Sayemu dislikes him out of old spite for his past weakness. Now he must face the consequences for his actions. Right then, the lovely Miss taps his shoulder and invites him to talk outside on a bench. He asks her what's wrong, but she just wants to thank him for the help at her grandma's place yesterday. Scratching his head, he says they're a team, so it was only right to help. Suddenly, she admits that after everything, she's certain of her feelings towards him. He turns bright red, anxiously waiting, but she says she knows he's not just level 1. How unfortunate, I hope the outcome would be sweeter. He asks what she means. She suspects his power is greater since no level 1 could recover so well. Recalling the first creature he bit, he still believes it was level 1. Then Kang wonders if he saw any demons before joining the team here. He reflects, certain he would never forget an event that significant. At that moment, he spots smoke rising behind her. Suddenly, panic overcomes him and a dark claw emerges. A wolf-like being with hungry eyes fixes its gaze on him, making his chest race. He drops his drink can as she asks whether something happened to him. He assures her he's fine, claiming his mind plays tricks sometimes, but she isn't fooled. She takes his hand, promising he's protected by her side. If only I felt that safe, but now she's really convinced. It seems he hides secrets in his past. Dimon then shows up, inquiring if they've finished their office rendezvous. Feeling exposed, he insists it's not what everyone thinks between them. Kang replies lightly, saying within a year demons and storms will come, so relationships are the only logic. She isn't considering any romance. The sting in her words hits harder than any demons might ever could. Bruised by her reply, he slumps on the bench as Dimon mocks him and he tries weakly to clarify his side. It's truly not what it seems. But honestly, those words hurt him, didn't they? Later, Hwan says they should check alerts before leaving. Elsewhere, Kang and the boy keep climbing. Since that heart-to-heart, he's uneasy near her. Kang now examines the readings and records details about the yellow dust levels. Maru has decided he just can't spare time for love when there's only a year left to live. Their minds tangled in plans to kill the demons. A distress call from Zone 3 comes. Yosek speaks. Yosek shares that Dean has fallen, and the menacing creature approaches their location. He urges caution with their words, but mid-warning, the phone connection abruptly fails. Kang is alarmed. It's troubling. Dean was beaten. Upman is a formidable level 10 user. Maru reacts with disbelief, shocked the easygoing man possessed such high-level power. As yellow dust swirls, she cautions him, this foe is like nothing they've previously confronted. A slim figure in a kimono appears as they steel themselves, its eerie outline materializing near. The monster's single blinking eye unnerves them as it greets, saying, I'm pleased to meet humans, may we chat briefly. It mentions that it's eager to converse with whomever is in charge of the current situation. Maru is left speechless. The creature displays the ability to speak as fluently as a person. Kane warns him to stay cautious, yet the demon urges peaceful intentions, just wishing for dialogue. Marin isn't sure what the demon wants, but recalls Yosek warned them against talking to it. Yet ignoring the advice, our hero considers this a rare opportunity to uncover valuable information. He proceeds to inquire about the origin of the creature. Declaring its home as Enra, the demon leaves Maru clueless about the location's nature. The demon then reveals it hails from hell's deepest reaches. Souls sealed there for sinister deeds dwell forever in endless darkness, fighting endlessly with no escape. Putting clues together, Maru asks if every demon around was once a living human being. Suddenly, he remembers consuming such creatures, realizing he's been eating fellow humans all along. Nausea takes hold as he vomits, then the demon asks for its own chance to question. Startled, Marar pauses, but Kay quickly pulls his arm, insisting the conversation ends immediately. Though acting cordial, Kay is convinced this very monster is responsible for their leader's defeat. She has a huge spear ready to go, but the demon pleads for peace, disliking acts of violence. Regardless, she fearlessly charges, fully determined to face off against the demonic threat. Grins, cautioning her that ending its life now won't restore her brother to her. She stands paralyzed as it flicks her spear aside as if it requires no effort at all. Then it accuses her of failing her brother with weakness, and she recalls that moment when her brother, similar to Dan as he was wounded, shielded her at the cost of his life. He begged her to run before falling powerless into her arms. She had wept furiously, and now the memory tears her back to the present moment. She cannot fathom how this being could possibly know such personal moments. According to the demon, she, as his elder sister, had to protect him, but the little boy died anyway. Maru calls Kang's name and runs to grab her. Wait, his hands are stained with blood. Oblivious before, Maru now realizes the creature can strike at people's minds too. Now they are in serious trouble, especially since our main character is most vulnerable. The demon proposes to talk more if they ignore that unworthy human, but Maru insists it stay silent and demands respect for her. Refusing to let the creature insult her, Maru Maru attacks the demon without hesitation. He lands a solid punch to its head, slamming the creature into a stone. The demon cleans its teeth just as Maru lunges fiercely for another strike. Suddenly, the monster laughs and asks why Maru cares after getting so suddenly dismissed by her. Maru stands still as if struck by something deep inside him. He blurts out, finding it illogical and hard to grasp. Maru's never faced rejection, so he doesn't think it should trouble him. So why does the world spin when he feels nothing but admiration for her power and strength? While all this unfolds, she remains on the ground apologizing quietly. He hesitates, but as pain worsens, blood fills his mouth, threatening to choke him. The monster scoops up a stone and scoffs at emotions. They are for those who are weak. Even as a human, it claims it never experienced any genuine feelings like those. It nears Maru and sneers, asking if perhaps a CAT made him mute for good. At last, Maru sees why even the highest abilities could not conquer such a monster. The demon hurls the stone and proclaims it's over, but Maru prays for a cold-hearted savior as despair closes in. Just as the stone is about to land, the demon's body wrenches in a strange spasm. The stone-faced savior arrives, questioning why a mere level 1 lies crumpled on the floor. The boy flashes a bright smile, confessing genuine joy at the sociopath's sudden arrival. But the newcomer's already annoyed and grumbles at the beaming fool for grinning out of the blue. Then Shamu hears the demon mutter that beating its vocal cords isn't easy given their low level and admits the hit tickled. The demon's words bruised their pride, firing both boys up, ready to put him in his place. They squared off and Maru quickly warned Shan that beast uses tricks against the mind. Yet Shan only said, just watch. Though our boy itched to deliver justice, he swallowed his anger. Shan must show the way. There was no other choice, they had to resolve this fight together now. Shanu snapped another finger and a part of the demon's shell splintered apart. Seizing an opening, the demon sneered, mocking Shanu with cruel confidence. The demon declared it was too little, he'd never win his father's acceptance that way. Still, the emotionless figure kept striking, cracking fingers, as the demon mused how similar they truly were. Such is the fate of a child whose mother took her own life following her husband's desertion. Now Shamu's bitter past is revealed, the pain behind his coldness laid bare for all to see. Maru, stunned, realized he'd been wrong. Beneath it all, Shamu wasn't just privileged. Maru doubted even someone heartless could simply shrug off wounds so deeply emotional. But then, to Maru's surprise, Sam let out unexpected laughter. The man coldly asked what the demon's story had to do with anything. He explained it wasn't his fault, his mother simply wasn't strong enough. He struck at the monster's neck and exclaimed that only the powerful endure in this world. The creature smiled, warning that if that's true, Sanu won't outlast Han Maru, the stronger one. This jab landed, but Maru darted to intercept, calm confidence in his eyes as he declared the strategy revealed. The creature confuses its prey with mind games before shooting a blade out from its jaws. Just then, Kang dashed forward and cut off the monster's tongue, making it scream in agony. Alright, and our agony boy, captivated, thought she was remarkable. I find myself falling for her too, right along with him in this foolish attraction. He quickly pushed away these feelings, reminding himself to stay focused on survival. He grabbed Wu and tried to pull him from his daze, but Wu was haunted by feeling weaker than Han Maru. Still, he felt pride flickering because someone like Samu was actually envious of him. But then he adjusted his stance and told the other to toughen up and move on. After all, being a bit worse than him wasn't truly a shameful thing. Maybe he was remarkable, yet Samu still had the edge for now in terms of coolness. Suddenly Samu collected himself and snapped, so obvious you're only a level 1 after all. United, the three faced the main foe, determined to finish it before dark when they'd lose their advantage. Maru wondered how they could manage that, since approaching meant risking the monster's tongue attack. But C argued now was best as the creature couldn't speak, yet Samu countered she was too injured to fight. Kang's wound on her chest stubbornly refused to mend, leaving concern on their faces. At that moment, Maru rushed aside, frantically seeking a way to defeat this relentless creature. He began taunting the monster, waving his arms, calling it dumb, making sure it noticed him. The creature's focus instantly shifted towards him, falling for his risky distraction. That was his chance. He asked Samu to watch Kang while he activated his latest ability. His friend was confused since the power worked in closed spaces, so Kay urged Samu to help Maru quickly. Meanwhile, our protagonist sprinted with the beast at his heels, its wild tongue lashing out. He frantically searched for someplace enclosed, yet only open ground and no buildings surrounded him. As he struggled for ideas, a car shot past, breaking the rhythm of his chase. Inside was Shanu, slamming on the brakes and urging Maru to hurry up and jump in. Maru leapt for the door without delay, irritated the driver risked their fancy car like a true rich kid. Envy flashed in our boy's eyes for the wealthy man as he landed, the beast closing in fast. As the creature struck at the vehicle, Maru shouted at Shan to get to safety. But this was a trap, for when the beast lunged in, Siu swiftly locked it inside. He relayed to Maru true that the trap had worked, but as Maru tried escaping, disaster repeated and he was cruelly cut apart. With a scrape-toothed grin, the monster emerged, relishing its latest kill. Suddenly, a hand clasped strongly around its throat. The creature turned and recognized Maru behind it. That is when the hidden truth revealed itself before our eyes. When Maru entered, he secretly unleashed his power to create duplicates of himself. Many Marus now attacked the beast, seizing it from every angle and dragging it as they devoured it. The monster cried out, searching desperately for the true Maru who was hidden from sight. Someone was pounding against the glass, demanding why Maru refused to leave the car. Kang soon entered and asked about Maru as the beast was overwhelmed. The creature whimpered, insisting violence was needless and that maybe they could speak peacefully. Or was Maru just innately fierce, too similar to his own father? Suddenly, memory seized Maru, his father shouting, uplifting him by the collar as emotions welled up. Stop for what? The beast pressed about his father, questioning Maru's feelings from that loss. Maru couldn't bear the monster's words for even another second. He struck his own ears, striving for silence, blood pouring freely. He ordered the creature not to manipulate people's innermost feelings anymore. Although its lips moved in silence, Maru scowled, saying its tricks had no effect. Determination, saying outside its tricks had destabilizing from his no-effect force. Kang intervened, but Samu gripped her, murmuring that there was nothing to do. The car quivered violently, tossed about by the chaos enveloping it. Our boy was reduced to a red pool, at which point Kay noticed the yellow haze vanishing. The vehicle lay utterly crushed as she moved closer, declaring Maru still needed saving. Si Wu, exhausted and resigned, claimed the kit had already passed away long ago. But Kang persisted, hope remained as long as yellow dust drifted through the air. She ripped the car apart, demanding, why would this fool trap himself? Destiny seemed to knock and echo in their ears. Oh leaped to assist, pondering the same bitter question. But our young hero wandered in a world that existed elsewhere. He knew not his whereabouts, numb and detached, recalling how he'd silenced that annoying voice at Lei Hoke. He strained to remember the creature's final words, warnings about the abyss and a vital call fading with consciousness. He wondered what could that call even be. Suddenly a furious scream urged him awake. He opened his eyes, finding himself in a crimson world. His clothes began to twist, and then from his belly that dark, shaggy dog crawled out once more. In terrible shape, Maru demanded, what on earth is that thing? The beast approached and asked, did he remember the long ago day he met it first as a child? Long ago, that monster had set its gaze on both him and his father. Terrified, young Maru whispered to his dad, this is strange, let's get away. But his father, gripping his collar, replied, no, from MCD onward our fight begins. Here streaming, the boy begged for the reason why. That moment his father explained everything. To claim that monster's rare gift, the father pulled his son ahead and declared they must descend into the abyss. Then he tossed the child toward the waiting beast. As it opened its jaws, Maru was nearly swallowed, suddenly pulled back to reality. Samu once again cracked fingers, using every fleck of yellow dust to rip apart the wreck. At the very core, they found Maru, blood-soaked, cocooned in red like a corpse. All sound was declared, and the yellow dust was no more. Unable to recover, he glanced aside, aware the boy before him had lost all chance. At the same time, Kay gripped Maru's hand, struggling to draw a response from him. In a sudden moment, his finger began to twitch, a faint sign of life returning. It was then both witnesses understood what was unfolding before their eyes. Like a demon reborn, Maru now conjured yellow dust from his own trembling form. As his shattered bones twisted and snapped into place, the children staggered upright. Fear hollowed them both, dread curling in their chests at the impossible sight. Though he nearly healed alone, Maru soon fell unconscious and collapsed on the earth. Eyes fixed on him, Zan W stamped furiously, demanding to uncover his true nature. Barely clinging to life, Maru groaned, confused as pain rained down on his beaten form. CMU yanked his collar, demanding loudly, how are you making your own yellow dust? According to what they knew, gluttony was supposed to be his sole unique power. Suddenly realization struck, gluttony was not his first gift, it came from that very monster. Once his father had forced the beast's power upon him in childhood, its purpose unknown. Then panic washed over him, rolling in uncontrollable and suffocating in his chest. Broken by fear and memories, he slumped helplessly to the unyielding ground. While Samu pressed, Kang intervened, urging Sanu to give the shaken boy some slack. The toll was still fresh, he needed time to recover from the physical and emotional strain. For now, let the secret stay hidden, contained just between the three of them for safety. Yet Samu objected, saying a being like that shouldn't roam free. Everyone had to know. But Kay countered, noting Maru seemed unaware, though S insisted he might turn monstrous. Kang simply replied, placing complete faith in Han Maru to remain harmless and good. With a scoff, Shamu turned away, whatever happens to the brat isn't my concern. He then walked away, footsteps echoing finality as he left them to their choices. Now Kang sensed the burden had shifted to her, realizing on the train home just how much harder work was than their boy believed. He struggled to fathom what this so-called gluttony power was, and what the creature meant. Just then, the creature's reflection gazed right at him from the window with icy focus. Maru jerked back in terror, and Yoso, seated beside him, told him to stop acting so odd. Maru gripped his chest and said he'd just witnessed something truly unsettling. He then asked if Yoso wanted to listen to his troubles, but Yak instantly declined. He said keeping to themselves was wiser, and Marva sat heavily, feeling unnoticed at work. Meanwhile, TikToker received a call from Kim Moo, curious about the sudden scenery shift. Bar Isaka Kimu urged someone to quit the mountain group and request to be relocated. Corpulent man wavered, finally agreed, then asked about the man beside him. The boy beside him was Maru, and even Yuset wondered since he wasn't meant to be there, but he admitted his life was difficult and he wanted company. He turned to Kim Woo, noting it had been his first meeting with another team member, and asked his reason for leaving. Woo described the constant quarrels there, but Yo replied it sounded like bullying rather than conflicts. Our guy wanted to confirm if this truly was the office bullying he'd heard tales of, and Peer A.G. Grieve commented that Woo was too gentle, should have left chaotically as he had. Maru confessed that being from another faction he hadn't known, which is when Woo shared Yoso received the most abuse. Now uneasy, our guy wondered about those people, but Yoso explained those personalities were closer to ordinary humans. Even within the officials vanquishing demons, some proved to be more perilous than the creatures themselves. Maru recalled Su saying he might become more dangerous than anything and questioned if that's who he was. On his ride home, he gave the chubby man a lift and asked if their destination was much farther off. Then at last they reached their stop. Wu's parents had him at the store, and he welcomed them to step inside. His mood shifted sharply at the sight of all his friends' companions nearby. The startled man froze and quickly spun around, only to collide with another person. A towering 398 man declared he sought Wu, noticing Yoke as well, much to his surprise. He then kicked him in the chest without pause, stomped his head, and said if he intended to leave he should have quietly departed. His greatest blunder was setting the place alight before making his escape. He was relentlessly stomping the guy until our friend seized his arm and told him to stop. The guy spun around, demanding to know who on earth our friend thought he was. With eyes aflame, our friend replied that he and Yasu worked together at the office. The man chuckled, claiming it seemed he hailed from Gwet Island, a place for fools and outcasts. Suddenly, the guy punched Maru's face, knocking him down before continuing to attack Yos. Poor Yos endured more punishment from these people than the haunting demon at his house. Maru rose quietly, hoping he'd avoid attracting any unwanted eyes. His nose spilling blood and mouth coated in yellow dust, the room turned golden as his mood soured. All the while, the other man struck Yoso and accused him of causing costly rehabilitation. The struggling TikToker wept and gasped, while his Oso friends whispered disbelief about his transfer. Right then, the beast emerged behind them as the door flew open dramatically. The man was met by a heavy foot that crashed directly into his shocked face. The brute's head smacked against the wall, then he collapsed, leaving all wondering about this stranger. It turned out to be Shanu, who calmly announced he too belonged to Gangway Island. He then advised Maru that acting recklessly again could easily lead to his demise. Maru swiftly hid the sand, asking what brought Shanu there in the first place. Shamu explained he'd followed Maru just in case there was trouble on the train that day. He also observed Kang trailing Maru, and now she burst into the shop demanding answers. She checked on the battered TikToker and declared they were lucky, but the military huntress wouldn't leave as her friend was gravely hurt too. The nervous person faintly whispered that Sen had also made his life quite complicated. So he was there to settle scores, as Kang teased discipline might return until the woman warned it might not end well this time. And the stubborn fellow Mulehead struggled to his feet once more. Facing Sanu, Mulehead threatened he'd die today, but Zanu just smiled. I've been waiting for this. A new fight was brewing and Amaru stood aside, uncertain about what he should actually do here. He considered joining the brawl, but Kang quickly stopped him, urging him not to get involved. If he changed form, danger would follow, so he moved carefully, noticing his shirt misplaced as she'd passed by. Poor guy indeed. Now it was his chance to take a serious beating. A man stormed in shouting that Sinu would die today, only to get struck in the ribs by a sudden cannon blast. Gripping his broom, Kang had managed to stop one attacker and strike the second in the leg. The quivering geek writhed in pain as she warned them that continuing would only end worse for them. Just then an older man stepped in, asking why civilians were being attacked. Kang, still near the restroom, questioned who he was. The man declared himself as the Guyang Mountain leader. Kang looked relieved and began to describe everything that had happened. But I'd wager all my fortune that man was even worse than the beaten ones nearby. As expected, that's just what unfolded. The man struck her in the face, unthinkable. What was he thinking? Had he lost his senses? Makes me want to jump right in and deal with him myself. This wretch earned my wrath. I'm metaphorically jotting his name in my death note, even as he warned her she was wrong to hit his men. He then faced battered Shan Wu, grinning to say it's been some time since their last encounter. Arvin saw Kay helpless and quickly began to draw in the gold dust. Refusing to see his rival defeated so easily, he ignored Samu's warning, going too far already. Marou was already charging straight at the group's leader. The man was hardly concerned, wondering aloud what the youth intended. But he was then spun and his head was destroyed in a sudden, violent blow. The young man remained calmly breathing yellow dust in and out. Everyone was frozen in stunned disbelief. You realized at once this had only worsened the situation. Meanwhile, Maru helped Pang, who chastened him for using the dust, but he just uttered an apology. Seeing her hurt drove him to fury and vengeance. Slumped nearby, the crazed leader laughed darkly. The worst thing, he even breathed in the yellow dust, muttering how rare it was to see a human releasing such dust. He came right up to Maru and expressed his curiosity about Maru's true identity. He then offered Maru a place on his own team. Maru remembered this group was worse than demons, and told him he'd never join a group of scum. Unfazed, the leader sighed and said it was unfortunate, but now Maru wouldn't leave so easily. With yellow dust filling the air, the ground was now set for confrontation. They proposed settling everything with a clash, G Mountain against Gangan Mountain. Fighting only demons sometimes grew boring after all. But Maru already noticed the group beginning to transform, acting totally deranged. Their leader sat down, munching on something that looked much like seaweed. He announced that it was time for the competition to start. Kang strenuously objected, but the leader ignored her, going on to describe the rules. The match would be fought between 2 teams of 3. The winner would claim Yoke as their prize. If Maru's group triumphed, they'd keep quiet about what happened at the office and about the boy with a demon's power. Maru knew that if headquarters found out, there would be no way for him to escape their grasp. Thus, he needed to fight to keep the secret. Kang saw the leader was tuning out her son's question of why not attack right away. Kang said that creating chaos would be the result. The minions would defend their leader, which would spiral into a massive fight. Grinning, the leader said to treat this as friendly. Forfeiting meant defeat, no killing allowed, that was for villains. Samu and Maru shared glances, since this leader clearly didn't comprehend his own words. Shan removed his cap, slipped on his gloves and said, "I've wanted to fight someone gifted." Maru just called him mad. Kang agreed fighting was wise for the moment. Buying time was the aim, and when asked why, Kang promised they'd learn soon enough. Then Kang asked who went first. Samu stepped up, tired of waiting, as the leader picked his fighter and trembling Mira removed his glasses. He gazed at Shan Wu, glimpsing the beast hidden in his eye, then said Sam could break himself to strike foes. The towering 5-meter figure advanced, promising to take care of things himself. He launched tangled, branch-like attacks at Shan Wu, roaring his desire to tear him apart. Zanu barely blinked, shattered the onslaught with a broken finger and dryly asked, "Is that all?" Then grinning with chilling fervor he added, "It's far from over." Though fractured, each piece of his body still obeyed his command. With a mere heartbeat, the foe's ability turned the battleground into a tombstone. Now Samu was stuck fast. If he couldn't fracture more, how could he resist? The rival moved in, fist aimed at his eye menacing. "Now you're finished," but she smiled. "I still have much left to shatter." He bit through his own teeth and crushed the enemy's move to fragments. Grasping his foe's neck in a blink, he murmured, "You'll feel your 5th vertebrae break." Instantly, his opponent's legs collapsed beneath the pressure. Shinu urged him to stay upright and resist losing consciousness so soon. The next technique promised a neck ready to snap. The challenger foamed at the edges of his lips. He caught Su's wrist and urged, "If you continue, you'll take his life." And with that, their first duel had come to its end. Victory was now theirs to claim. The 3-meter brute accomplished nothing but suffering, now retching helplessly on the floor. The leader inquired about the next bout. Kang remarked he may have gone too far. His efforts barely delayed them. She moved ahead, ordered the next challenger forth. The rival noticed her gift of forging blood into blades. Danu and Maru shared a knowing glance. When fierce women face off, defeat does not exist. The foe extracted 2 ribs in readiness while Kay cautioned, no knives should be drawn. It was perilous, yet Chemo's heroic line conjured bone soldiers, mounted a bone spider and declared fearlessness. Then boldly she rushed straight toward Kang. Her reflexes barely caught up in time. He managed only a weak sword as her first defense. In that instant, the bone spider crashed into her ribs. Frustrated, entrenched deep in battle, Kang admitted, "This pace is too much for me." She struck her rival, making the woman stagger back, then quickly closed in once more. Camaro attempted a few blows, but Kang avoided each one, aiming for a gentle slash before retreating. However, to her dismay, the gentle slash spilled a cascade of blood. Members of the rival team called for Officer Park, urgently checking on her condition. Kang tried to explain, saying control had slipped from her grasp. Swo and our young fighter praised her. She really managed to delay them. Blushing, she confessed this was her first real fight with a person. Rival team members began drifting away, leaving the wide-eyed guy staring in disbelief at the madness. He'd heard Gangwa Island housed the feeble, yet their leader calmly stated only Maru remained. He remarked that it just didn't add up at all. The score was already 2-0, with victory in their hands. But the young man shared that this absurd contest was only to witness Maru's power, and his duel made all the difference. With the last round counting for 3 points, Kang hesitated, but a rash team member agreed, "Fine, 3 points then." He insisted that the true opponent be the rival team's chief. The others peered at him, dumbfounded, while their leader numbly grinned. At that moment, the trembling onlooker grew keen to test what Moira could do. The demon surfaced in his eye at once, instantly spilling his blood. Terrified, he knelt and wondered if that thing was human, as our fighter lingered lost in despair. The opposing leader approached Maru, pointing out that dueling the judge amounted to a foul. He preferred to send out the the champion of his group into the fight. After that he called out poor Wu. He confirmed with Wu that his parents were home and safe, then pushed the heavyset boy forward and demanded the fight begin. Yoso begged the leader to end this but was sharply told to be silent. They promised to handle Yoso afterward, and the leader said if Wu fought well, he could transfer out. Now forced to stand before his opponent, Maru found himself utterly baffled. He could see a haunting figure, the demon of the mind, looming behind Wu. Mild blame to brutal looming behind Wu's shame and flickered memories, Wu in tears tossing coffee on yak. Suddenly his mouth opened against his will, and he sensed something sharp forming within. He tried to stop it but couldn't. Even with his mouth covered, he blurted out, "Aren't you glad? Wouldn't you rather have Yuck take your place in that bed?" He likely saw Wu's suffering and felt fortunate. His powers were spiraling beyond control. Still, his words cuttingly wounded Wu's spirit. Maru tried to help, but Wu softly uttered an apology. Before Maru grasped why, Wu's body erupted with deadly poison. Maru found his entire form dissolving away. His flesh was seared and Kang cried out to him, but the leader sternly told her not to interrupt. The bout was not finished. He advanced toward Maru. Crouching, he taunted Maru, eager to see how much longer he would last. He warned that soon Maru's organs would melt and urged him to surrender. Half of Maru's face ruined, he gritted out he hadn't surrendered. The leader grinned and was eager for another display of power. Victory would be his if he just attacked the chubby boy on the floor. The rule was simple. But Maru declared such rules meant nothing now, attacking the leader bravely and reasoning that defeating him meant their victory. He glared at the leader, who merely said, "Unfortunately, that's not going to happen." Seizing Maru by the collar, the leader ordered him to obey and follow the rules. 8 times he echoed the word, and suddenly everyone in the room was slammed down hard. Sound fought for air, baffled by the mysterious force weighing upon everyone. Even he himself could barely breathe under the growing power. Gasping, Zanwu urged them to be cautious. This was the work of the leader, a level 9 who wielded gravity. He looked down at everyone, smiled, and said this tableau was remarkably lovely. With everyone pinned helplessly to the floor, the real entertainment finally began. He glanced at our hero, seeing the boy had managed to recover already. He remarked there was something unusual going on within this kid's body. Curious, he resolved to test this by intensifying the gravity just on Maru. The weight forced Maru's ribs apart with sharp cracks, but after that car crash it felt minor. Still, the leader observed that Maru's growing pain only thickened the swirling yellow dust. It showed that whatever demon granted his power was unique among its kind. The memory struck him hard. That beast had been tormenting him since, even if it was a demon. Maru's eyes were set apart. Something about them was uncommonly distinct. Maru was aching to raise himself. Under immense weight, his efforts mirrored Goku's fierce drills. He tried lashing out with psychological taunts, but no threatening words marked his back. Crushingly, no mental ploy seemed able to shatter the leader's wretched mind. At that crucial second, the leader revealed a knife. He confessed curiosity frustrated him, so he wanted to dissect Maru, perhaps extracting lungs or the throat. But his plan collapsed when Kamu snapped a finger and fiercely instructed Maru to attack. In a blur, Kang cut the leader's arm, vaulted stealthily and flew toward him, but 20x gravity hit, instantly crushing all beneath unbearable pain. The leader warned that this intense gravity would soon deprive them of air and consciousness. Maru called for Kang, who wrestled the knife away, threatening that no one else would intervene now. Their cruel game was set to recommence undisturbed. Poor Maru saw no hope. The villain's powers seemed fueled by tightening his grip as he fought. Clearly this guy had lost it. As someone knocked, he replied the place was already closed. But suddenly an odd blue liquid crept under the door, spreading out across the room's floor. As Woe, pressing a hand on the floor, questioned in shock what the unusual substance was. With a sly grin he said he had arrived. When she left with Yasu mid-fight, a message had reached the boss. Go Dickman, our boss in a colorful Hawaiian shirt, stood at the door with blood in one eye. His power was the demon of darkness, which, named so, was bound to be truly powerful. Our protagonist was being swallowed by darkness as the other, drenched in the thick fluid, sank too. Maru promptly grasped that he was engulfed in darkness, though something seemed strange. He rose to his feet, noticing all sense and sound vanished. Not even a whisper reached him. He felt erased from existence, and as the gravity guy pondered it, Dipman appeared and seized his neck. Clearly, his gravity power was utterly useless in that endless blackness. In the next moment, he crumpled senseless on the ground. Then D-Man faced our struggling hero, calling out for rescue as panic set in. He clutched Maru's throat too, rendering him unconscious in an instant. With nonchalance, he reached into his pocket, fished out his eyes, and placed them back. As the blackness dissolved, everyone found themselves back in the real world once more. Upman merely remarked that the yellow dust had at last ceased swirling about. Kang let out a long sigh, said he finally made it, but Akman dismissed her reply and continued. He immediately pressed her and Sanwa for answers about their silence on Maru's abilities. Evidently disenchanted with public service duties, Kang apologized and asked about speaking to their rival team. D-Man quickly overruled him, explaining this was beyond simple resolution now. Scene change inside a giant building. Everyone and their eyes were fixed on our hero, now chained. He worried about his fate in a room furnished with 88 chairs, where just 4 people sat. Young spoke and proclaimed that from here onward, Han Maru would be under their supervision. Stunned, but Defin refused at once, saying directly he had no intention of agreeing. Maru never realized this man held such influence until Young slammed the desk, declaring Maru made yellow dust. A person like that was truly perilous. Some might notice those wicked powers, but Deckman, fixing his flashy tie, claimed the chaos began because of that rival group. That squad was notorious, and no one understood this truth more than JN. Responsibility for Phil Squad's madness belonged to Jang. When Young said Dai went overboard, Zhang told her to hush. Zhang honestly didn't bother himself with the natures of his subordinates. Whether from Jai Mountain or following a madman, none of that mattered to him. They were essential for battling demons despite their flaws. Those wild ones were still preferable to Ganghwa Island's chief, a hesitant level 10 fighter. The Upman accepted the reproach, explaining that Maru avoided battle, which is why he should stay on the island. Only those 2 friends beside him could best temper his nature. Young questioned if Deokman would answer for catastrophe, but he just replied yes and exited the room. As the group departed, someone summoned Shan Mu to remain behind briefly. He had no chance to escape. Poor guy was in for stern private chat. Maru then asked how it went, griping as well about Doan's bizarre necktie. Deokman announced punishments were coming, salary cuts included. Just like that, Maru lost his joy and wept, but was reminded that luck brought trouble from the other island. There would be no help if he failed again. To him, Director J resembled a true nightmare. Jang gravely asked his son Shan Wu if he could end Maru's life if he went berserk. Shamu hesitated briefly, glancing aside awkwardly, and softly denied he could do it. He then rose abruptly, saying if that was all Jan could offer after 2 decades he was going. Still, Jan insisted he stay, clarifying this wasn't a familial chat but an order from a director. Marin was beyond a typical ability wielder. Anyone able to generate yellow dust was hardly different than a demon. Caution was needed, for Maru might prove to be a threat. Scene shifted to another house. This messy place was to be the Cyrillic letter 456 gang unit's new dorm, a chaotic array of clothes and empty bottles. Maru entered right as the leader announced he'd now stay there with him permanently. Fear chilled Maru, troubled by where the man's hand had settled. He hesitated, unsure if he truly had to remain in that place. Deokman confirmed it, explaining it was the only way to personally ensure Maru behaved. Placing a hand on Maru's shoulder, Deokman grinned, promising they'd be close always as Maru stiffened. Back at headquarters, Fan watched him intently, eyes glinting as he suffered. He stood there tense and awkward and questioned if she cared to comment. She warned that he'd be doomed if he started spreading yellow dust in the office. Yasu suggested they stop provoking him, as all this drama would trigger more dust. Maru glared in silence, uncertain who infuriated him more. At his side, Kim Yak wondered if he was releasing dust. To reach for his face right away, stating his intention to examine him. Truly, the sight unfolding now struck as odd and strangely captivating. Usually, I'd come across such close encounters only in stories leaning toward the wholesome. Storming through the corridors, Maru burned inside, now branded as something monstrous. He collided with Sunwoo, who recalled Zhang's words warning that Maru was dangerous, perhaps an enemy. Already irritated, Maru asked if Sunwoo too was stopping by only to warn him not to stir up trouble. But Shan dismissed him with a careless shrug and showed no concern for Maru at all. Maru's frustration kept mounting. This infuriating man always managed to reach under his skin. He then saw Kimu moving into their office. Kang said as a newcomer, Kimu could ask about anything. Turning toward Maru, Kay made it clear she wanted to examine his eyes up close. He grew tense, quickly reassuring her he wasn't releasing dust, so nothing was wrong. Yet seeing her face that near, she was just mesmerizing. She told him not to resent the team since everyone felt unsettled, unsure they could defend the island from another disaster like this. He stood awkward and tense, insisting he understood, then retreated to sit alone. He felt burdened and dejected, certain his load was always heavier than the rest. Duckman dealt with the trouble by simply keeping him away from all future assignments. He was still sulking when suddenly 2 men from headquarters strode into the room. As he turned to question them, one abruptly lunged at him, punched his face and unleashed a fierce attack. "What's your problem?" he shouted as the attacker seized his collar and demanded he hand over yellow dust. Marva was ready to fight but paused, recalling her words, and chose not to resist after all. He resisted, causing chaos. The man in the wig threatened to crush his skull without the dust. Suddenly Baldy landed a punch on the wigged guy's head, knocking him out of the way. He extended a hand to Maru, urging him to forgive the other fellow's rough behavior. The fellow seemed clueless since the contradictions came down from headquarters themselves. Maru quickly questioned if they were sent to test him once again. "I'll stick to calling them Baldy and Wig. It suits them far more than their real names ever could." Baldy explained that Wig was Maru's biggest fan, even calling him King Maru, making Maru embarrassed and confused. Wig was already cheering, boasting that if Maru produced yellow dust, he'd surpass everyone and become the greatest. "Our hero felt awkward and shy from their words, and after some time everyone began to head home. Maru noticed out of the corner of his eye that Wu was standing nearby. He asked if something was wrong, and suddenly the focus shifted to a yellow dust detection meter. Curiously, the device refused to function as it should. Wu was apologetic, confessing he'd made a mistake but hid it, fearing someone would blame him. Mara assured him that here he needn't fear mild errors, though maybe he was simply shy himself. The chubby boy blushed and questioned Maru's words, but Maru chuckled off the concern and comforted him. Just then Maru saw yellow dust. Wu quickly asked if he was the source, but he wasn't. Turning to the side, he saw a child with peculiar orbs upon his chest. Wu panicked and urged Maru that they should inform headquarters right away. Yet Maru replied that with so little dust it was just a minor monster, easy to handle. Remembering the promise of greatness, he boldly attacked the creature as King Maru, biting without hesitation. The creature fell to the ground in a flash. Our boy was ruthless in his actions. Wu complimented him, "You truly finished it in one blow." But fate rarely gives rest, for a second beast erupted from the fallen monster. Maru couldn't grasp why it endured, and with another spawn, one chest orb also vanished. Moreover, judging by the dust, it was now a level 2 demon. Not much later, Maru stood spent, without a clue about his weariness. Whenever he defeated it, the creature simply became more powerful. Wu observed aloud that its yellow dust mark had hit a level 5. He dashed away instantly, urging that the entire squad must be called. Yet Maru said, "Look behind you," for the monster had already attacked again. It nearly tore his neck, but Wu triggered venom, dissolving the beast completely. Yet the entire cycle repeated once again. Shell toughened as an even stronger beast burst anew from inside. This was a ruthless evolution. Worst yet, 4 gemstones remained untouched on its chest. It reached level 6, and Wu was clueless about stopping this with just 2 of them. Right then, our clever boy noticed there were still 4 stones on its chest. If 6 plus 4 is 10, he realized, then we're utterly doomed. He understood they should flee at once. Maru volunteered to distract it while Wu called backup, but Wu shouted he couldn't handle level 6 alone. But Maru insisted, "I'm King Maru, far stronger than you imagine." He sprang at the fiend, trusting that since he devoured it, he shared some power. He swung a punch, but the beast dodged, moving faster than he calculated. Its counter was a direct hit into Maru's abdomen. Maru landed hard, his body paralyzed before he could offer a response. The beast pummeled him with relentless force reminiscent of a championship showdown. It was clear Maru couldn't endure for much longer. He too had glowing orbs on his chest, yet he was puzzled about not evolving despite his endured injuries. With rapid healing making abilities useless, the creature neared his head, but Maru bravely shouted out for a harder blow. The beast moved forward, poised to strike. Wu, in panic, called out a warning, but Maru insisted he stay out of harm's way. Yet as typical for such a companion, Wu accidentally escalated things with his venom ice skill. The creature's attack was paused, yet it remained unbothered by the effort. Before any escape, the beast clubbed Wu's head, slamming him into the earth as Maru almost was. Reacting from behind, Maru locked the beast in a grip and bit deeply into its throat. Again, the monster's skin began to solidify and turn rigid. Maru took hold of Wu, checking on him. Wu asked in a faint voice why he hadn't escaped. Maru answered he couldn't flee since all this trouble was because of him. Wu, before losing consciousness, urged Maru to go and call others. But Maru knew leaving Wu with his poor healing would mean certain death. No aid was on the way, leaving Maru to confront the terror on his own. Only 3 more changes remained before its ultimate transformation. He understood he had to stop the creature before it achieved level 10. Maru realized it must be slain before it could emerge reborn from its cocoon. Smashing the protective shell, Maru discovered a crimson figure within. He recognized this was undoubtedly an evolution stage of the creature. He swiftly attacked, his bite aimed to snuff out the new threat before rebirth. Suddenly, a monstrous hand burst forth, carving a hole into Maru's showing chest. Now this foe proved to be a true force of nature. The beast was immense and imposing, while Maru's own body was enveloped by a cocoon. A smile touched his face. For the first time he felt himself changing at last. Suddenly the beast seized him by the skull and hoisted him up with brute force. Maru readied himself for a blow, but instead the creature hurled him far away. Flying through the sky, Maru noticed the enraged monster charging at Wu. He shouted in despair, begging the monster to keep its distance. Poor Maru crashed into the earth, his spine slamming painfully into a tree. Thankfully, the cocoon had been spun in time. At that instant he broke free from his shelter, entire form slick with slime. As memory of the looming beast returned, he began to sprint with urgency. The instant he dashed forward, he realized this new speed was his gift from evolution. Yet upon arrival, only emptiness greeted him, not a trace remained. Shimmering yellow dust faded away, signifying the monster had vanished as well. Trapped in thought, his phone rings. An alert flashes from another district, making him wonder if that's the next target. Simultaneously, he answers D-Man's call, who inquires about the level 7 danger alert. He tries to explain something important but is simply told, stay home and just listen. Before Marva can mention he's already there, the man abruptly ends the call. Deciding to search for Wu at least until help arrived, he moved into the shadows. Suddenly, a notification chimed from the nearby thickets. Approaching, he discovered a message: "Would you collapse?" He knelt to check on his friend, but one look at the lifeless hand and crimson pool gave the answer. Desperate and hoping to save his friend, he worked magic with his own yellow dust, whispering please. But Wu's limp hand hit the earth, signaling the journey had come to a close. It was over. With the first life claimed, Maru covered his friend before wordlessly grieving, while elsewhere Kay informed the leader she'd nearly arrived. So Dimon was the link ahead, but urged her to be cautious since power levels had just soared to 9. He commands her not to face the beast alone, urging her to wait until he arrives. Suddenly, the wild mountain trembles, shaking even the city while dust clouds rise above. The level reached 10, and Kay realized she truly couldn't survive this battle on her own. Now Dickon grew anxious, Yoke moved into despair, as Senu urged the taxi driver faster. Sadly, Jaewen was trapped in the car, sure she could never reach in time. Kang raced through the woods, determined to intercept the monster before it reached the town. She suddenly halts, catching sight of a shadowy form heading her way. She assumes it's the beast, but quickly our hero spins toward her in an instant. He warns her not to approach and to leave, leaving her confused, pressing for answers. Maru, furious, steps close and tells her bluntly to leave before things turn dire. She implores him to calm down and asks for an explanation, refusing simply to flee. He informs her that the evolution demon has attained its final, most dangerous form. Looking past him, she peers through the swirling dust and glimpses the monster closing in. A towering 6-meter figure emerges, and Mara insists he alone must end this threat now. He attempts to stab his own chest, but she intervenes and demands to know his intentions. He reveals he consumed the evolution beast. A fatal wound would force him to transform. Kang, alarmed at Maru's odd behavior, urges calm, promising reinforcements are near. Yet Maru turns prideful, declaring he does not want or need help from anyone here. Still, she punches his chest, questioning if he really meant to risk everything for this. Continuing as he was, Maru would lose every ounce of his remaining humanity. But unmoved, he plunges the stake into his chest, declaring he doesn't care even if it ends him. Kang can only stand in disbelief as the thick dust swirling around continues to mount. Nearby, she sees many Maru bodies fallen at her feet, evidence of countless failed attempts. As she wonders how often he's tried, the boss monster attacks too quickly for her to react, but defense resets as her last hope. Yet today is different, for Chad makes his triumphant entrance, hope swelling for all. He parries the blow with bravado, seizes the monster's limb and tears it away. The boy embraces his wild side, leaving the creature in absolute horror. Yet the monster still grabs him by the throat and slams him violently into the earth. The ground is utterly destroyed from the impact. Maru, however, doesn't appear troubled by the ordeal. The monster seems eager to release his neck, but Maru drags it closer despite its fear. Meanwhile, Deepman had just discovered Wu's unfortunate remains. He wondered how such tragedy occurred when a distant noise echoed through the mountain. Kang, alarmed and noticing Maru's emptiness, realizes he's not the boy she once knew after he attacked the monster relentlessly. While airborne for another punch, the beast regenerated its arm and landed a blow to his gut. Maru was sent hurtling, shattering the woods and crashing into a towering wall. Kang hesitated to intervene, but Deepman held her back, insisting she couldn't survive a level 10. They feared another loss. She was unaware of a death, and Deepman wondered why Maru came anyway. He distinctly recalled telling Maru to stay home and keep out of this fight. At headquarters, Wai Young alerted everyone to the appearance of a level 10 on Gangway Island. From behind a chair, they explained Dukem Men's leader had just reported it, oddly resembling an albino Incredibles designer. She, the ancient headquarters leader, remarked that a squad had already been deployed. If the team failed, she said to Signal Director JN, who noted this was the first level 10 in 2 years. Jan Cyrillicletter 456 reminded everyone that last time, Surek Mountain's squad and many locals perished. He told her to keep calm, pointing out Dipman and the unusual youth now rising from the wreckage. As he walked on, the leader muttered about his sanity, but Mara darted forward relentlessly. Though commanded to halt, Mara attacked again as the beast prepared, shattering his own arm in the clash. The monster seized his throat yet again. Deepman tried to intervene, but Maru executed a skilled move on him. This was the evolved Gansen arm renowned for its power. Jamming his limb in the monster's jaws, his hand regenerated and burst from its head. Even Dupen was startled by the fierce boy, who crushed a crater into the monster's head. As soon as the monster fell, Maru took a fresh bite from Kane, certain no beast could heal now. Though it seemed over, our guy kept pounding its skull and tearing bloody pieces away. The leader ordered a halt, and Kang swiftly decapitated the beast herself with her sword. The creature's head rolled away as Maru gazed at his shaking hand, still unmoving. Kang, radiant, embraced our stoic Maru just as the group arrived and asked what had happened. Gino asked if the leader and Kang did it, but Dimon replied Maru had slain the monster alone. Some doubted that he managed to defeat a level 10 monster on his own. Our hero simply stood, enfolded in his beloved's arms, a full meter taller now. The next moment, Wu's somber funeral unfolded. His grieving kin wept as the team stood silent. Asak, closest to Wu, was unable to utter a single word in his sorrow. Kang gently asked Iman if he was all right. He softly replied he would never get used to it. She wanted to know how they intended to handle this tragic matter now. Iman responded that Central Command would, as usual, declare it a workplace accident. Thankfully, he was not consumed, so they could lay his complete body to rest. In any case, Gangwa Island was deemed unsafe. Kang asked about Maru, who hadn't written. He left after submitting his resignation, vanishing afterwards. She insisted on delaying formal action, pledging to find him herself, but he refused, recalling a past tragedy while stationed at Seoul's Central. He recounted being the sole survivor when his entire team perished to a level 10 beast, understanding afterward that such loss forever changes a man. Maru found himself again in the same room where everything began, resting and sighing yellow dust. Suddenly, a crater formed and a fierce, bloody hand started to pull itself into view. Looking across the room, he realized that it was Jay beginning to appear. For an instant, he feared that this was just another one of his troubling visions. Jay declared, "I'm here to talk," questioning whether the boy was truly surprised by his presence. Startled, the boy asked his visitor's reason. Talks John said he had to visit after Wu's passing, as Maru seemed to be hiding from everyone lately. Mara feared she might be blamed, but JN remarked Kai died simply because of his frailty. Our boy was stunned by the harshness, but the director expressed concern for the child's well-being. Why does the figure sitting atop the bed get down at all? Jay, Kang and the protagonist share that bed, but then he warned Maru not to share his father's fate. Maru was bewildered as Jay disclosed he and Maru's father were the first squad leaders facing new demons. They were also chosen as the pioneering soldiers sent to the front lines. We return to 1999. John, now 30, fires at a composed beast, deflecting the bullets. The creature pressed forward as Huan, Maru's father, instructed everyone to keep shooting. Jang stood frozen until his father yanked him back, ordering him to lead the 6th squad. At the same time, another teammate was cleaved violently in two. Huan brandished a grenade and urged them all to hurl whatever they had left. Bombs surrounded the monster from every direction. He dropped to the ground and half the forest disappeared in the explosive blast. Later, smoke curled up as they made their way to see if the creature had survived the attack. When Huan approached through the haze, he found the monster upright with half a body left. Opening its maw, the creature inhaled the dust and began healing instantly. Ordered to shoot before it completely healed, the soldiers fired but it blocked the shots and slew them. Huan, incredulous, listened as John explained both squads were erased on that unforgettable day. He awoke amid fallen comrades and saw Huan kneeling stunned among the dead. He neared and asked after Huan, who sat in shock, racked with questions about the monster and carnage. Suddenly, another swirl of golden powder formed, and Huan observed the ordeal was not yet ended. Huan abruptly dashed off, pursued by JN, baffled by his desperate behavior. JN also grew pale at the sight of a colossus with 36 watchful eyes along its body. He cried for Huan to flee, but Huan replied survival meant accepting what lay before him. But Zhang still could not comprehend the meaning behind those ominous words. Suddenly, a tear in reality opened up in front of them. A hand shot from the rift, striking Jung's chest and pulling him into the present. He remarked the rest was clear, since Maru had survived the same ordeal. Once their blood blended with demonic essence, he began working for the authorities. Maru pressed for details about his father. JN explained after all that happened, he'd asked Huan to take charge, but he'd refused. The trauma of absorbing such power had fractured Huan's mind. Now he spoke only of the abyss. Memories of being dragged back washed over him as Jan revealed his father became a demon to win against them. He doubted their claim, but Jang insisted it was clear, as anyone using powers risked falling to demonhood. Later, gazing at his father's photo, he wondered if he'd turned demon and recalled Jan's warning that stopping the battle made him his father's equal. Aroy brooded deeply, and the following day at work, Iman watched silently. It seemed the boy failed to appear at work once more. They decided to launch a search to track him down. As Kay reached for her coat to confront him herself, the boy arrived, apologizing for his lateness. Hush fell over everyone as he entered the room. While Maru vowed to seek truth at work, he rejected the idea his father had become one of them. Just then, Zhang stepped into a room where a prisoner lay chained, announcing the final preparations. A huge creature was confined there, and Zhang promised the abyss would soon reveal itself. Back at the office, silence lingered until Jan proposed lunch, but Maru declined, saying they should go without him. As they walked, someone mused that once again, only the 4 familiar faces remained. Since the incident with Wu, Maru's actions grew odder, causing her increasing concern. Kag sensed everyone, not just him, had dimmed spirits. Later, Dimon asked the boy to take out trash before ramen. He took out the garbage and was stunned to run into Kang, unaware she lived nearby. He answered confidently, "Of course I do." He said it was close to the office and practical. In fact, most co-workers lived as neighbors. Noticing his load, she reached to help, their hands brushed in that quiet moment. Was that meant to be a marriage proposal? She explained he shouldn't blame himself for Wu's fate, as all on the island were equally involved. He looked away, rejecting comfort, claiming it was his fault, yet she clarified she urged him to move forward for survival's sake. Everybody in the group had already experienced the pain of losing someone dear. He didn't fully grasp what she meant, but kept climbing until another alarm rang out. These poor people truly never catch a moment of rest. The leader, unwell, sent Yosa, Jan and Maru for just a level 6 monster, and our boy readied himself. Before he could move, Samu stepped in, offering to go for Maru, expecting he'd only cause trouble again. The boy, already struggling emotionally, settled heavily in his chair, overwhelmed. Meanwhile, Samu grew increasingly impatient with the deeply troubled kid up in the mountains. Yuan warned him to be kinder to Maru, who suffered, but Samu dismissed him, refusing to sympathize. Their only task was to find that creature and bring it down as fast as possible. Before he got the words out, a needle struck his forehead, dropping him instantly to the floor. Rising in confusion, he looked over and was stunned by the sight of a huge red monster now collapsed. He cracked his finger and smashed the monster's neck, seemingly ending its life. His friends stood, asking if it was really dead, and he told them it appeared to be vanquished. Yoso glanced aside, raising the question about what that strange creature might be. A chubby cat named Jang was there, and it looked oddly familiar to him. He insisted it was his own cat, though he couldn't imagine why it would be in such a place. He scooped the heavy kitty up, deciding to return to the office, wondering at the change in its weight. Someone told him the cat shouldn't come to the office, but Jan suggested leaving it since it seemed content. Once at the base, he enthusiastically urged everyone to check out what he'd brought back from the mountain. People recoiled in shock, and Kang instantly shouted for him to let it go. The animal in his hands looked far more like an eerie demon than a regular BTY. This was the demon of duplication, and as soon as it struck, spikes hit everyone's brow. It tumbled down and swiftly darted away under its own power. Yet for Yos, it was only his beloved feline slipping from his grasp. He chased it down the corridor, but abruptly collided headlong with a closed door. Even Dimon ended up with a bruised forehead and later remarked someone had let a mountain demon inside. All eyes fell on Y, who quickly protested that he shouldn't be blamed for what happened. The creature mirrored his own cat, plus Jan and Sam Wu were present, so they shared responsibility. Jan rose, urging them to stop arguing, suggesting they hunt the thing before the dust spread further. They approached a peculiar door, and she warned them about possible illusions demanding caution. Stepping inside, they paused, amazed by the sheer vastness hidden behind the door. Alerted them to a rack spider demon Shaza moving closer, Child's trailing behind it lifeless form 30 yellow dust motes. A colossal beast emerged, a spider demon, its body sprawled above a child's lifeless form. Jan recoiled with horror, her mind conjuring the child calling for his mother in a final embrace. She was struck by the memory of his death, prompting her to surge desperately forward. Kay caught her, warning of danger, yet Jan insisted that spot marked the demon's lethal attack on her child. Kay begged her to regain composure, reminding her it was all a deceptive trick of the mind. That's when the knowledge blossomed. The demon preyed on memory, fashioning tailored illusions for everyone. Maru speculated that the spider might itself be an illusion, with Stu considering if it had copied prior fiends. The main character doubted it was possible, but recalled Jang's insight about demon blood granting such gifts. He started to ponder, if their theory held, could this mean any foe faced might be copied? Kay affirmed, mentioning both the level 10 demon empowering DF men and the glutton demon behind Maru. Their great worry, if something could clone all these threats, how could anyone hope to prevail? For Maru, the matter cut deep, for it was the glutton dim that had sparked his deepest scars. Panic overtook him and he fell, fearing the dreaded fiend might return to devastate them all. Deepen comforted Maru, promising no lives would be taken despite the shadow looming over them. With resolve, the group advanced and Kang launched an attack, determined they shield each other from harm's reach. At that instant, SEL fractured a finger just as Kang's blade struck the demon's throat. After defeating Creature B, they stood triumphant, until a new door emerged before them. Within a heartbeat, they were transported to a strange, unfamiliar realm. It appeared as another part of the duplicator's mysterious power at work. Kang checked on Jan's well-being and she assured him she felt fine and had recovered. Arvu brooded, remembering that Jaewan had endured witnessing her son's death. Shanu urged them forward, saying they must quickly find a door out of this nightmare. Lifeless bodies completely blanketed the floor beneath their feet. Arvu saw spreading mold on the walls and instantly realized they were in Kim Yak's memories. Kim Yak himself appeared there, crying desperately for his beloved wife. He remembered their bright days and the moment they both perished inside the mold man. The scene brimmed with sorrow. Shan pointed toward the ceiling for them to look up. Above, a massive beast, stained red and blanketed in moss, waited in shadow. Spores began to drop from above, one of which Maru accidentally inhaled. He immediately retched, then checked on everyone with mounting concern. Sadly, he realized his companions had all already succumbed and collapsed. It dawned on him his fast regeneration could be the reason he was still on his feet. Vowing to endure alone, he wrenched the spores away and braced himself. He lunged, sinking his teeth into the creature and tearing free a large piece. I feared terribly this was a trick, and he'd harmed an ally in cruel disguise. But relief flooded in, the vision broke, all roused and wide-cheered, thinking he'd been lost. Hei's gaze shifted to Kim Yak, now standing reunited with his wife. Suddenly, it all aligned. Her loss was a source of his enormous power. Maru called to mind Kang's words that everyone at the office had known their own losses. He understood pain touches them all and swore not to let grief topple him. Resolved, Maru tried to pass Zanwu, who shoved him aside and moved angrily onward. Shanu moved to unlock the door while Maru called out, urging him to proceed with caution. No one knew what awaited them, but Sham dismissed the danger, insisting it didn't bother him. They vowed to defeat anything they faced, advancing forward until a figure appeared at the gate. Martyr narrowed his eyes, trying to sense closer who might be there before them. It was his son, and with a smirk Martyr guessed by that irritatingly proud look, it was a memory-made replica. From inside, the temple demon emerged, but Man Sam stood his ground, unwavering. He boldly approached the demon, craving a gift of power that could surpass his father's. Maru was stunned to see this reckless soul speak to the demon and demand strength. Samu insisted it was his only path left if he truly wished to oppose his father. The monster cracked a finger and shattered its own leg as it charged a punch. Samu stated no one would witness this part of him. He broke his fingers trying to defeat the boss, urging it to fall, but this boss could break 78. Its arm bent grotesquely, and Siu felt the agony as he crumpled to the dirt. Mara knew the burden fell to him to control the rampaging beast. With Kang, Jan, and Dimon stood at the ready, powers prepared for the coming onslaught. Suddenly, numerous arms erupted from the creature, and they braced for doom. Each digit snapped while their spines buckled, leaving them writhing helplessly in pain. Maru recognized then that the temple demon's power far surpassed any of his fears. Still, Maru recovered first, his healing faster than the others. Yet he couldn't understand why Sinu remained unresponsive. He shouted at Sinu to rise, reminding him they shared the monster's very own ability. Sinu just lay face down on the street, wondering how Maru dared speak to him like that. His deepest wish was to outmatch his father's great strength. That longing pushed him to beg for a heightened ability above all else. Yet now, beaten once more by this boy, he again endured the sting of failure. If he failed to manage even this, what value did his ability possess in the end? The demon's arm multiplied, more hands sprouting, and Maru braced for the next attack, since only he remained upright. The cracking joints sent lightning bolts of agony shooting through his fingers. The barrage of twisted bones was so severe that even his healing was faltering. He fell helpless as the demon walked past, leaving him beaten and forgotten in its wake. He pleaded with Dickman to do something. Dickman replied that he'd have to rip out the demon's eye, but his body stayed frozen. Maru felt utter despair. With their leader paralyzed and only Sunwood grasping the power, the shouts turned to him. The demon stalked the last trio, arms blooming with fingers, and in that moment, Su knew action was needed. He shattered his own tooth to strike at the arm, birthing new fingers, halting the growing threat. Catching the foe off guard, Kang rose and darted at the monster, severing an arm with her blade. But she lacked strength, and the creature's bone armor ensnared her sword. Just then, an unseen force gripped her neck and lifted her upward. Unaware of the source, she floated while Maru watched in stunned bewilderment. Samu alone realized the answer by the fresh blood trailing from the temple demon's arm. Numerous hands rose, seized her, suspended her high, and began bending every captured limb. Marou sprang up, racing and shouting at the beast, but soon felt his own throat snared. It hoisted him up, blind and powerless. Samu reasoned he should wield that demon's very gift. He bit his arm, spilled his blood, and conjured hands that grabbed the monster, dragging it down. The instant the monster was pinned, something struck from the shadows, cutting deep at its throat. It was Jan's spider in the end. With that, Jan declared their victory while the others slumped in utter exhaustion. Whether tired or not, Sinu leaned on a wall, quietly glad his powers had finally revealed more. Maru called out, "Glad you caught on. Show us real mastery with that gift next time." Jamu told the so-called monster biter to be silent. He stormed off, leaving Maru frustrated, though Maru just meant to help. After a pause, they moved toward the next doorway. As they neared the entrance, a strange feeling washed over the whole group. Sound resonated, and Simu Asko stood within those walls. Because nobody recognized it, Kang assumed perhaps it was Maru's talent at play. Driven by curiosity, he advanced, wondering what might be revealed. When he opened the door, a voice inside called out desperately for their father. He was there, cowering before a monster both enormous and unsettling. Seeing the demon with glaring eyes startled all. Mary, dragged along, pleaded for help, but his father warned him this led to the abyss. If he wished to save his loved ones, he needed to gain the power of the gluttony demon. Maru felt the idea of protecting others was odd, especially remembering Zhang's earlier words. He recalled Zhang once claimed Maru's father had cast away all his humanity. Realizing Director Zhang had deceived him, someone at headquarters pounded the table, saying this was disappointing. It was the elderly woman from The Incredibles, lamenting the few ability users even as demons grew more common. Zhang argued quality matters more, yet she insisted the lack of level 7 users, especially from older times, was severe. She questioned his strategy, suspecting he was trying to force strong people to appear. Zhang answered simply this was his intention. The old woman thumped on the table, declaring the true madness was in letting so many perish, for power to awaken in a few. She insisted that as director he should grasp how perilous those ideas were, and then a knock came at the door. A young woman announced his requested supplies were delayed after contact was lost with Gangwei Island. Without hesitating, the old woman ordered an investigation to see if workers were merely leaving early. At once the group faced the roaring gluttony demon and wished more than anything to return home. That's when Yoso suddenly directed everyone's attention with an urgent gesture. To their surprise, the gluttony beast melted away, vanishing underground within seconds. Jan remarked on how odd it was that the beast vanished without attempting to harm them. The Opman noted this demon was unlike any of those they'd happened upon in the past. Everyone felt thankful that battling that monster would not be required for now. At that moment, a call rang out for Kang's sister. They immediately understood it was Kang who was next. With confidence, she stepped up, telling them all to remain behind. Though Maru warned it was risky, she said she needed to be ready when she met the real one. She asked them to stay right there, assuring them she'd return on her own. They ended up doing just that. In truth, I would not have agreed to wait. Maru knew she would struggle, and recalling the temple demon fight, he sneaked a peek at what unfolded. Kang was fiercely engaged in a fight against the Crimson Beast. Oddly, another demon stood aside, observing their clash. It was another of those creatures with unspeakable eyes. Much like before, the gluttony demon began to fade away. As Kang's blade broke, the red beast advanced quickly. To end it, Mar shouted for her attention. He begged her to be cautious, but she reminded him of her vow to handle it alone. Nevertheless, he urged her to stay observant to everything happening. He mentioned the beast's special defense. If it existed, perhaps she could wield it too. She paused and considered this when the door closed, and Sangu declared it was time. Victory was now within her reach. He still wished to intervene, but they all simply had to bide their time. Sometime after, the door opened and a blood-stained hand emerged. There was no need for grief. Tonight she appeared radiant and very much alive. She staggered forward, collapsing into Maru's arms, who was also deeply weary. Damu felt deeply disappointed. He had required aid, while she alone had overcome the demon that granted her strength. Joan remarked it was only Yoso and the leader creatures who were left now. TikTok D confirmed, but wondered aloud why the door had not appeared yet. Shanu noted the forest creature's skills resembled Yak's abilities quite a bit. Yasf agreed, recalling he'd searched for his cat while meeting the demon, leaving only the leader's demon now. He absent-mindedly scratched his stomach, puzzled about being neglected at this time. Everyone had begun noticing the supposedly responsible leader seemed not to care at all. This leader's demon was now at level 10. Yoso pointed out their good fortune while Dimon was pleased, feeling everyone was much safer now. Maru felt celebrating was in order, thinking this was perhaps the best possible scenario after all. With yellow dust calming down and the odd creature gone, everyone seemed reassured. The leader supposed Kang had dealt with her struggle pretty quickly. Afterward, they should take her to the hospital and then enjoy a Korean barbecue meal together. Right then, Naru gave him a punch right in the face. Everyone froze as Maru seized his collar and called him the demon. Chuan asked Maru to stop hitting the leader, claiming he was acting out of his senses. Maru argued the leader had eaten barbecue yesterday, leading to a bad stomach, so he wouldn't repeat it today. A moment of stunned silence followed, while the leader seemed lost that they discussed his stomach. A second later, they jumped him as justification, and the leader yelled for mercy. Everyone seemed to snap. He quickly escaped the chaos. He had barely reached outside when the real deckman ran over him. Shocked, the group watched as the leader shouted to know what had struck him. When the dust settled, the red devil stood there. Later, the leader recalled that his hospital stay allowed others to let a demon in. He warned if headquarters learned of this, everyone's salary would be lost for a year. To avoid this fate, he insisted the incident remain secret to outsiders, while Kang just wished to go home. Fatigue overwhelmed her. Someone called out, and thinking it was Maru, she realized it was Shan Wu who wished a private talk. He revealed recognizing the demon from her memories. He'd encountered it before as well. She asked for details, and Samu, surprising her, revealed it was actually Director John. He had uncovered the truth, his intelligence towering, truly a mind exceptional and rare. The story turned to 2 decades past, when he asked his mother if his father was in the basement. She answered once more, saying his father didn't care about them, so the boys shouldn't either. Shamu wiped the dirty window of the basement outside and saw inside what one might dread. Back in the present, his father stood in the throes of changing into a demon. Kang was stunned. Samu told her he'd only seen a demon in the basement, not his father. Though he didn't know the truth back then. As years passed and he recalled these memories, the truth finally became clear to him. He wondered if the director truly was a demon or just someone who watched her family perish. Shamu explained he wanted to uncover that secret. it was why he sought the truth about Young. Earning strength and working at headquarters were steps to unraveling those mysteries. Kang pointed out memories from childhood vaguely hinted at the truth but couldn't prove anything. He needed undeniable, solid evidence. He answered that he already had a promising idea for proof, but said Bay must acquire something. He wanted to know what happened next at headquarters. Kang and Maru found themselves waiting there. Maru complained about not knowing the reason, and she reminded him she'd explained many times. He blamed Shanu, claiming they should not be there because of that man's bizarre ideas. The room quieted until Jong entered, offering apologies for having kept them waiting. He sat and inquired what business had brought the three of them together. Maru was uneasy, but Wu spoke plainly, saying the director was present when Cam gained powers. Maru was stunned while the director admitted confusion and asked for clarification about their claims. Kang said the demon that day had its own eyes, and she had heard that demon was the director. I never imagined their plan was just to boldly face him like this. JN covered his face and pointed out they'd been drawn in by Sue's ridiculous ideas. First, the boy blamed his father for his mother's fate, now he accused him of being a demon. Until now, Maru had no idea of their family ties. Sayemu slammed the table, insisting it wasn't about his mother. He was simply desperate to know who Jan truly was. He demanded Maru use the yellow dust to unmask the director, but Jan warned that doing so could end Maru's protection from Gangwa Island. Maru paused before Kang urged Sanu to let go of this confrontation. She yearned to know what caused her family's tragedy, but believed putting Maru at risk was not justified. Maru recalled their time at her old home, his question about truth, and remembered the demon's cruel act. He stood and declared that if it was necessary, then Sanu must be responsible for what happens next. Once yellow dust spiraled through the room, he announced that the answer was clear. The director rose and asked why this must involve his son, but Sanu retorted, saying he never thought of him as a father. He broke his fingers as he condemned Jong for leaving him and his mother behind. Jong remained unmoved while the window burst and Sanu crashed into his chest, pushing him outside. As Jong helplessly fell, Maru cried out that it was utter madness. With no dust to cushion him, John calmly urged them to wait. Their doubts would soon be resolved. Meanwhile, the director reflected that these kids tested his patience. Suddenly, sensation hinted something in the air had shifted. He saw a swirling portal form as the director emerged, exhaling dust. This confirmed Sanu's suspicions were accurate. Yu Young rushed in, demanding to know what had just happened. He then noticed the trace of shimmering dust. Upon realizing the truth about the director, she ordered him to clarify his actions. Kang quickly told Yu Young that Director Jang had a hand in her family's demise. Jang asked if anyone else doubted him. Their silence made him grin, realizing he'd been discovered. He unleashed his spatial ability, striking the ground forcefully with his palm. In a flash, the entire group found themselves whisked from their office to another place. Suddenly, they stood inside a remote and unfamiliar building, lost in an unknown land. Mid the room, Jang appeared while Yu Young demanded to know his true intentions. He claimed their doubts left him with no options, forced to act because he'd been questioned. He didn't wish to stain the office with violence, blood, or horror after all. Again, he channeled his spatial gift and launched a lethal force in their direction. Yan warned about Jang's power. As they ducked, Marvu saw anything struck vanish completely. When Yuan asked if he'd lost his senses, Jang responded only that he was purging corruption. He knew the young ones had seen too much, regretting innocent colleagues entangled in chaos. Lost allies could have become opponents to the Abyss, yet removing Mar seemed fortunate now. Managing the Abyss brought about endless troubles, weighing heavily on the mind. When Maru inquired why they suspected him, Jang, preparing again, blamed humanity's fragility. By surprise, his hand manifested behind them, turning Kang's attention in an instant. With a swift motion, two heads were taken cleanly and without warning. Maru was stunned when, abruptly, Yam clutched her heart with a sudden desperate grip. Grasping her chest, she invoked into being the rare ability called Eternal Pause. By using the Raza of Time, Yan sacrificed 5 years to turn moments backward. Time rewound to when Jang readied his strike, noting Yu Yang had just saved everything. The telltale streak of blood across her torso left no doubt about her sacrifice. Yet Maru questioned how those who perished stood safely before him once more. She considered it strange. None but the director should sense her secret power at all. Suddenly, the bald man and his partner advanced, insisting there was no time to spare. Both attacked in unison, but Jang slipped away, instantly reappearing behind their backs. Moving straight to Si Wu, he quietly asked if his father had truly wanted his death. Shamu snapped his finger, causing the director's entire arm to fall beneath its power. Shamu glared at him, declaring his action was because the man was not his own father. Jang readied another spatial strike, yet Maru and Kang barely managed to pin him down. He warned they should watch out or else they'd face death once more as before. Oddly, Yu Young demanded they capture him unharmed, since answers were needed. Aldi and Wigman confessed to doubting whether that was achievable. Their hands clasped, releasing them them, it seemed their blood now coursed together as one. The pair cautioned, announcing they had decided to risk everything now. Wigman lunged, boasting his great speed was tied to his blood-borne gift. His assault speed had increased twofold, doubling his force and threat. JN readied a lone slash and in one stroke took off his head. Everyone knew he was hopeless from the start and doomed despite his valor. Yet headless Wigman struck Zhang's face while his spinning head grinned, proclaiming future victory. Just as was anticipated, Aldi then divulged their secret, stating their blood pact meant neither could ever die. Zhang sent a slash at once, but the blood bond rebuilt, so the explanation became clear. Their ultimate mercy pact could not be broken, no matter the force. Wigman, lying down, thanked the director for everything but said it was truly goodbye. Maru admired the two's vigor, but Shamu quickly warned that Zhang was avoiding all attacks. Then Kang urged that they observe what was happening with full attention. After countless dodges, JN was caught tightly within their entwined blood ties. Predictably, Baldy and Wigman started pulling him, claiming that the battle was over. Zhang was stretched out as Kang obeyed Yam's order to slash off his arm. Simultaneously, Samuel broke the other arm, shattering both at once. Excitement swelled. They believed at last that Jay couldn't wield his power anymore. The issue was he began absorbing golden dust, making his recovery instantaneous. The chief told Maru to bite him and stop his healing, but Maru dashed away, loudly insisting he'd never bitten a person before. In the middle of his dash, John's face altered dramatically. Grin curled his lips, horrifying Maru, who witnessed the man's unsettling change. Just as everyone feared, he became the same monster Kang saw in her nightmare. The blow exchanged between them sent blazing spatial energy rippling outward. The one-armed boy tried to shield himself, but shadows started taking him in. Energy spiraled to Jung's grasp, and Maru was swallowed up by the darkness for all to see. The beast stood firm, a wild grin twisted upon its face. Midst the chaos, Yu Yang was striving to understand the unfolding events. Zhang offered a heavy sigh and apology, admitting reluctance to show his real form. Just then, Zhu realized this creature couldn't possibly be his true father. But where then was his actual father now? The demon touched its head and whispered disbelief at turning against its own creations. Clearly, Kang grasped the meaning, denying it in despair, but his claims persisted. He confessed it was he who brought demons to her home. He'd noticed her agility in sports, knowing straight away she'd master special talents. Kang attacked in fury, but their leader urgently screamed for her to stop. But she was too late, her sword was already swinging. With a gesture, the demon made her flesh begin to dissipate. Between heartbeats, she vanished at his touch, utterly erased by spatial force. Simultaneously, Yudam's arm was gone and everyone else perished completely. Desperate, the leader clenched her own chest again in order to rewind the time flow. She firmly grasped Kang's shoulder and cautioned her, any move would mean everyone's end. Yet Kang, filled with urgency, insisted they needed to know what action to take now. Wai Young confessed she truly didn't have any answers or ideas of what they should do. Since Zhang's change, his unbelievable strength left them with absolutely no hope to win. Approaching him was impossible, and Kang remarked that Maru could have made a difference. But how could they return him? The leader replied sadly that bringing him back was hopeless. None had ever managed to escape the darkness born from JN's efforts. Meanwhile, our boy raced through emptiness, stubbornly staying with Ling, lost and unsure. He sprinted until gasping for air but still couldn't glimpse so much as a hint of light anywhere. Soon he collapsed fatigued, and as he stared ahead what seemed like an exit caught his eye. Naturally, hope made him leap up and sprint forward, eager to uncover what lay beyond. Inside the radiance, he unexpectedly encountered Zhang standing mere feet away, waiting. Zhang looked frail and starved, gazing at Maru with wide eyes, hardly believing his sight. He asked in wonder, how could a human like you end up in this impossible space? Totally honest, Maru replied, I was fighting my double and got stuck, so what is this place? John told him what attacked him was one of the demons that slipped from the abyss. Fear struck Maru, for not only did this fiend possess eyes, it could even speak human words. That's when true Zhang exposed the being as one of the 8 gods, far above average demons. Those 8 received the immense abilities of the Abyss's supreme king, making them unique. Unlike mere demons crazed by hunger, the 8 gods decide freely and chart their own actions. Right then, the beast struck with another rift blade while Kang commanded all to shield the leader, because her fall meant their doom. Instantly, Kang and his companion with no hair were severed right through the middle. That leader honestly keeps sacrificing years with every moment that passes here. Grasping her chest again, the leader repeats and bends time once more. Their forms reconnect as Phantom Zhang explains that Supreme Realm foes are on another level. No one with abilities ought to challenge these gods, he insists. Defeat is assured. In that instant, the man asks the leader why not surrender after countless rewinds of time. Yu Young wonders when she began obeying the monster, while the man grins at her stubbornness. He lifts his arms, summoning a storm of demon portals, declaring the true battle begins now. Creatures begin to pour down from above, and all sense the struggle just grew more daunting. They gather for safety in the center as Maru quietly questions the aim behind unleashing the beasts. If these revered 8 gods are also demons, then why do they slay their own kind? John reveals his body's thief fled the abyss, became Supreme King's enemy, and tries to weaponize humanity. Maru wonders if civil service is space demons demon's tool, and asks if killing him truly ends the conflict. Yet John answers it's too late, the Abyssal War is already in motion and cannot be stopped. Our hero muses aloud, claiming if the demon perishes, his own autonomy will soon be restored. He clasps Zhong's arm, insisting on escape, but Zhong says he's imprisoned by his trapped consciousness. Tearfully, Maru urges that Zhong's child waits for him beyond, a reminder to keep trying. Zhong is moved and asks why mention his young son at such a moment of chaos. A little boy in kindergarten would not be able to enter this forbidden place after all. Forbidden place after all, claiming this emotional talk is completely draining right now. He plans to retreat and rest beside his wife and son, seeking peace in his heart. Maru implores escape is possible, but the director sighs, incapable of escaping his bound prison. Back at the deserted building, their friends grapple with monsters flooding the damaged structure. The demon gloats, claiming this chaos is the perfect chance to dispose of both adversaries now. A flashing spatial blade slices through the monsters, then swiftly heads for everyone clustered close. Energy sweeps across, the group unites and unleashes a tremendous wave against the assault. What thundered forth wasn't a typical wave, but reality curving tightly around their small circle. The group believed fate had claimed them, until a hand slowly emerged out from a swirling portal. It was Maru who stepped forth once again, having returned from the demon's own terrible abyss. The monster recoiled from the sight, while Kang looked on entirely full of awe. He burst out, triumphantly declaring the escape worked, clenching his fist and vowing revenge. Just before, as Zhong claimed escaping was impossible, he argued he needed a way out regardless. When the demon touched his arm to bite, Maru struck first, shattering it to dust with a punch. Feeling baffled, he couldn't fathom a reason why a demon had suddenly appeared before him. Distant memory surfaced of an old discussion he'd shared with Yoke. Anxiety lingered as a gate was left open for 3 days, which truly unsettled him. That was when Yoke revealed this previous incident had actually taken place at Busan. They were saved when the director managed to close the gate by channeling air to space. The director was remarkable. The story at hand gave Maru the notion to search for such a gate within the void. On his journey, Maru reached the mysterious door, uncertain but willing to risk it rather than remain trapped. Thus, with resolve shaping his heart, he stepped right through that threshold. Upon his emergence, he discovered a world unlike anything he'd seen. Standing still, he noticed the air so thick with yellow dust that he began to lose consciousness. A voice reached him, urging him to muster strength and endure. From afar stood a mysterious woman with long hair and vivid green eyes watching him. Her steady gaze shifted all the monster's attention straight to her. Suddenly, the ground trembled beneath Maru's feet, and he wondered about that tremor. To his horror, a legion from hell came forth, advancing right before his eyes. It was clear to him there'd be no chance against that entire horde. Without delay, he turned on his heel, racing away from the oncoming threat. Lost amid chaos, he caught sight of another gate during his frantic dash and decided to pursue it. As monsters stormed toward him and Matt, he leapt headfirst through the portal's opening. Then he reappeared behind the immense beast, catching it off guard and launching a bold punch. Yet even then, the wily creature managed to transport itself away and evade his blow. Why not let his triumph last? Clearly, the monster found none of this amusing. Yu Young expressed awe at their escape, while Maru calmly assured everyone he'd handle things. Shano scolded him, claiming he wasn't even able to get near the space demon yet. But at that moment, Maru truly believed that his current strength would let him win. Then the demon questioned him about escaping from the abyss of black space. Unexpectedly, Maru felt something ominous brush against his back. From the portal, green energy erupted and landed directly upon his figure. At that moment, the King of Hell declared with triumph that he had finally located him. The demon's arm stretched back, his soul and jaw almost torn apart and separated. Desperately, the demon tried closing every portal as Yan noted monsters were returning. This suggested the director sought to seal all that remained in the unfolding chaos. He struggled relentlessly, with the King of Hell watching him coldly from the gateway. Suddenly, it seemed as if everything had ended right there in that moment. Yet the demon realized something. Much of the king's lent power had vanished from him now. Clenching his hand with fury, he blamed Maru, declaring, "It's all your fault." Everyone stood still as a slicing energy rushed at Maru, voices shouting at him to evade. His head was struck off as Yu Young staggered, but Kang steadied her, urging her to look. Just then, Maru activated his hidden power of evolution. Emerging from the cocoon, his agile body charged forward against the fearsome demon. Nonetheless, the creature continued slashing without even showing a hint of concern. But Maru appeared unbothered, while Yu Young showed signs of trembling fear. Blades kept cutting Maru, leaving others to wonder if such a boy could still be human. Meanwhile, the old man recognized this fate would mark his final day. Maru was gone and they counted. Now there were 10 among them, their numbers restored. He lunged at the creature, proclaiming their battle's end, but the demon hurled one last attack, yelling for death. Yet Maru ducked under the energy cut, refusing and saying simply, "Not today." Slipping aside, he bit the creature's neck and declared, "I'll claim this power for my own." He hung, clinging tightly to the monstrous being. Kang fiercely believed everything was finishing, but maybe things weren't so final. Ara's fangs proved useless against his opponent. He was oddly unsettled, perhaps because his gluttony stirred differently this time. The void swallowed him again. The space demon appeared to forewarn of bitter regret. He thought for certain regret would follow after feasting on the entity. Knowing gluttony could steal abilities, he feared the Abyss sent the boy to steal his powers. Therefore, he was curious how long the boy would surrender to the Abyss's grip. Perhaps he secretly wished to return to that ageless prison of unending war and shadow. Maru responded, "That makes no sense, of course I don't want anything like that." Then the demon seized his neck and growled he was really speaking to the gluttony spirit within. He scorned how the ancient demon failed to override a mortal's will, despite once being a god. Advancing slowly, the demon fixed him with a challenging stare. Maru now fought the space assault and felt gluttony struggling for dominance inside him. While he held out, his adversary dismissed resistance as futile. The foe claimed all mortals with power soon lost themselves, so perhaps they should unite against the Abyss. He urged the inner demon to stop battling the human spirit so they could break free and shatter the Abyss. Combining their strength, they could manipulate those with powers as mere pieces. Countless memories. Maru's form shifted. A ghastly main mouth surrounded by many smaller ones emerged about him. He cried out, vowing not to reverse the transformation or allow this fate. He would never tolerate humans being treated as tools. Thus, he denied surrendering to this monster, determined to end things by devouring the space demon himself. He aimed to bite again but found himself back in the deserted building. This time something had shifted. He quickly swallowed it while the young man remarked it was pure foolishness. He was about to speak of his importance, but blood surged up and they both fell to the ground. The radiant Kang dashed heroically to try and rescue our friend. Meanwhile, S simply observed in silence as the body began to change back. He lifted his coat and covered the body with gentle care. It seemed the old man was lost forever, unable to return from the realm of consciousness. Regrettably, there was no doubt that he had truly passed away. Wig Guy and Baldy glanced aside, wondering if this meant King Maru had claimed victory again. Meanwhile, Yudong gazed at Yoong's form, pondering the next chapter to come. How would the special agents continue without their leader? Sometime later in the dorm, D-Man said he'd never suspected their chief was one of the 8 demons. He'd always viewed the director as odd but never imagined he was a demon. The group chatted about their room when Wei Young called for Dickman. She respectfully addresses him as Sunb, sharing she considered calling a crisis meeting but chose to consult him first. She seeks his advice and D-Man answers, explaining the news will spark panic and high government involvement. She realizes that sharing this news could bring ruin to their collective. For now, they must guard every secret until they solve this crisis and prevent any leaks. A little later, E. Young departs with the energetic friend, telling him he needs rest. That moment, Dimin calls to her and with his expression thanks her for her hard work. He no longer intends to address him as SBE. Some laughs are shared about Upman, quipping that woman must be ancient. Now Falls and Maru rest in the lounge. He wonders why that person is there instead of heading back to their own home. Samu answers that he's too exhausted to leave. The kid ought to go to his room as sharing space is tough. Maru shares that his own room serves as storage rather than a true living space. Maru says he usually sleeps there on the couch, then he calls to Sanu and explains he hasn't yet spoken to his father. Sanu straightens up right away. Maru details how his father seems to have been alone, trapped within that empty darkness. He tried but couldn't get him out of there, so he wanted to apologize for his failure. Stu freezes a moment, his face stern as he turns away, replying that it's all right. Yet Maru confides that his father dearly missed both him and his mother. He then requests that Stu let go of his anger towards him. Sanu drops a solitary tear. With those thoughts, he lies down, pondering what the future might bring. He recalls the demon's warning before dying that soon one of the 8 abyssal gods would track them down. From here, they'd have to fight alone, likely spelling doom for humanity, and Marin worries how they'll triumph against such powerful gods they cannot match. Divine Voice commands the bearer of his gift to come forward. A knight reminiscent of Maru's father appears, announcing it's time to like the video, which supports Mamoru in creating better content for his fans. Turn on notifications, and that's all from me.